Hello, and welcome to The Pool is Abstract, where we're currently rewatching and dissecting the revived series of Doctor Who episode by episode. My name is Connor, and with me is my weakest link.
Fuck you, man. Charlotte.
Charlotte, today we are covering the 12th and 13th episodes of Series 1. It's over. Series 1's over, man.
The finale.
The finale. The episodes are respectively called Bad Wolf and The Parting of the Ways. Mm-hmm. They aired on June 11th and 18th, 2005, both written by Mr. Russell T. Davies. Mm-hmm. This episode's really good. Don't you me?
Again, I think this is going to be the running theme of this podcast.
Yeah.
I feel better about it now than I did before.
Yeah.
I like the second episode a lot more.
Yes.
I think the first episode is where my main gripe is.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have anything to say regarding either of these episodes before we just jump in?
Nope.
No, we're getting straight in. Bad Wolf begins with the Doctor waking up inside of a cupboard.
Not just a cupboard.
He's in like a white room and the camera's kind of above him, spiraling up, and the Doctor stumbles out and he's told by Linda with a Y, that he's dizzy because of the trans mat. He's been chosen as the new housemate, and the Doctor looks around, and the Davina droid is there and asks him to go to the diary room. And this is when the Doctor essentially realises that he's in the Big Brother house on channel 44,000.
Yeah.
He sits down in the chair and the robot says, like, "You are live in front of however many people. I must ask you not to swear." And he says, "You have got to be kidding."
And that's
the cold open.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that immediately?
Again, just a whirlwind. A whirlwind of emotions. Especially when, I can imagine when it aired, obviously Big Brother was huge then.
Yeah.
So I can imagine lots of people were like, "Oh my God, it's Big Brother."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I like it. I know I've heard people say that they think it, like, not just Big Brother, but obviously the other game shows that come in later. I've heard people say that they think it dates
Massively.
this episode. I don't know if it does.
It does.
I think it does to a degree, but I also think not necessarily because these are shows that don't exist anymore. I don't think that's why. Because I think we're constantly remaking things. Do you know what I mean? If you think of all, like, the shows from...
I mean, Big Brother is back.
Is it?
Yeah, it's been back for a couple of years.
I don't watch this stuff.
Well,
I don't know.
Do I? But I'm just aware.
Yeah, but you... I don't know.
Haven't watched one episode of Big Brother. No, I haven't.
Yeah, I know. It's...
I just hear in the universe people talking about things. Yeah, it came back a couple of years ago, I think.
Yeah, well, we're always constantly remaking stuff, aren't we?
We are, yes.
Like, there's so many game shows from the 80s or the 70s or even the 90s that we're like, that get cancelled, go off the air for ages and then come back. So, you know, because what was it? Obviously, Family Fortunes is a big one that's been like revamped like a whole bunch of times. What else is there? Catchphrase.
Yeah. One recently came back. Is that the one with Freddie Flintoff?
What's he doing these days?
One sec.
You're going to Google this.
I'm going to Google this, but you carry on.
Yeah. My point being that we're constantly remaking stuff. There are like game shows from like the 80s that, you know, run for, I don't know, 10 years, 15 years, go off the air. We bring them back and then they eventually get cancelled again. I mean, it's Gino now, isn't it? Gino's doing Family Fortunes.
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, he's still doing it.
Yeah.
The TV show is Bullseye.
Oh, Bullseye's back. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Came back a couple of months ago, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's what I mean. Because we're constantly doing that, I think even though you can be like, yeah, these TV shows are very specifically representative of a very specific period of time, it doesn't pull me out. I'm not like, oh, this hasn't aged well because Big Brother does not like that anymore. I'm like, I can imagine 200,000 years in the future they bring it back and they give it the retro vibes to make it look like the old show.
I mean, that's one note I have put on here is, one, Linda with a Y, her look is so 90s and noughties. Like, the hair is so
the hair
like,
up in the
Spice
two,
Girls.
yeah, the two little like half bun, half pigtail thing going on.
Like space bun kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the little bits of hair like sticking
She's got
out.
her like oversized sleeves on her jumper, and she's got like boot cut jeans.
And low rise.
That are low rise, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very early 2000s, isn't it?
It is. Also, the interior of the
Big Brother house.
Big Brother house. I mean, I'm not going to lie, I did enjoy just looking at the pieces that they had in this room. There's like a hand table or stool just in the corner. The art on the walls. Look, any art is valid, but it looks like something a kid would do in nursery, and the parents would put it
Put it on the fridge.
It does, yeah. It's literally like handprints, and then someone crudely had written like, Jamie or something on the side.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it feels very noughties.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But after the opening titles, we cut over to Rose, who wakes up in a dark room where the Doctor woke up in a bright white room. Rose wakes up in a pitch black room, and a man who eventually we find out is named Roderick tells her to do exactly what the android says. Rose says, "What android?" Then a lady in the back calls people to take positions. Rose looks up and realizes there's a whole bunch of like podiums with people's names on it, including hers. She walks over to it, stands there, and then she realizes that she's on the weakest link. Dun,
And
dun,
she
dun,
loves
dun.
it.
Oh, she does. She's having so much fun
happy.
in the beginning.
She's like, android.
Yeah,
I
this is when we see the android, and it's an android of Anne Robinson.
Yeah.
And Rose feels the need to spell the joke out for us. She says, the Anne droid.
I mean, Weakest Link is back.
Is it?
Yeah. Oh my God, what's his name? He's a comedian.
Oh, yeah, there's only one or two of them.
I know, yeah. Glasses. Oh my God.
Glasses. Alan Carr.
No.
Stop. You're just going to be Googling people whose names you can't remember.
No, because it will bug me. Weakest Link.
God, what a show. What a show we run here. I tell you what show they should bring back, and that's Golden Balls.
That would... Ramesh Ranganathan.
Oh, okay.
There's the name, yeah, Ramesh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's recently come back as well, which...
Well, Golden Balls?
No.
Oh.
No, Weakest Link. But
right.
I've never seen it, but just saying, I don't think, anyone could do it like Anne. Because I can't imagine they could get away with the brutality.
Yeah,
she was cutthroat, wasn't she?
For anyone who is maybe a little younger and never saw The Weakest Link, or anyone outside of the UK, I'm not sure how big The Weakest Link is abroad, Anne Robinson was kind of famous for being very blunt and very just mean.
Oh, completely mean.
I think it's a character. I don't know if she's like that in real life. I assume it's a character that's put on, but it's like, yeah, she would rip into the contestants, and sometimes contestants would have a little fun and kind of like quit back, and that was the thing. She was not a welcoming host. She always came across as if she couldn't be bothered to be there.
Yeah, and
which is a very British thing. So I can imagine a lot of like Americans watching it and thinking, well, that just doesn't sound like it would be fun.
No. And just saying that nothing was safe. Nothing was safe. Like anything.
The topics, what you mean?
Just the way you looked.
Yeah.
Your like your intelligence.
Yeah,
She
that's the
would
thing. If you got questions
anything.
wrong, she would just openly call you stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was kind of the whole thing with the weakest link. That was the deal of it. So yeah, we've got the little robot Anne Robinson here, the android,
Which Connor loves and I hate.
I think it's so peak pun humor. It doesn't get better than that.
I mean,
you can't tell me there's a better one, because there isn't.
it's just so,
You love a pun. I don't know why you hate this.
I do love a pun, but I don't know. I think it was just the I got smacked in the face with so much like cheese and just naughties that when they said android, I was like, I've signed out.
It was the camel, the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah,
is it? Right.
I was like, no.
Yeah. So yeah, the doctor's in the Big Brother house. Rose is on the weakest link, and Jack wakes up on what possibly might be the most dated of the TV shows.
Yes.
Which is What Not to Wear, with Trin E and Zuzana.
Not Susanna.
So I never actually watched this show. But from my understanding of it, the conceit was just basically giving people a makeover in their fashion and stuff to try and make them more attractive.
Yeah,
I guess
pretty much. Yeah.
I guess that was the premise. What?
I was just trying to think of, there was a TV show, which was a spin-off, like later than
Right.
What Not to Wear.
Right.
Actually, was it a remake where they would basically they would pick a random person off the street? Well, I don't think they would. I think contestants would be put in, but sometimes they would speak to random people on the street, and they would completely rip into how they dressed. And I'm not on about like, oh, change your style a little bit. They're like, you'll never find a husband looking like this. You look like you look like somebody of the night.
Oh. Oh dear.
And it was like all that fake tan, and then they would just completely change their looks. And it was a similar vibe, because there was like this orb kind of AI camera up in the corner that was obviously voiced over by someone, but it would talk to people and be like, look how terrible you look.
Oh. God. It's a different time, wasn't it?
Very different time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm surprised that, well, actually I think this would have come out before that maybe, but that would be something.
Yeah. So Jack wakes up and he's told by Trini and Susanna that his outfit is very 20th century.
I love how they ask him where he's got his jumper from, and he said, oh, a little shop in Cardiff called Top Shop.
Called the Top Shop.
Which,
Yeah.
again, dates.
Yeah. Do you know what I find funny, though, is that this is an insult in and of itself, because obviously they say that the outfit is very 20th century, but obviously he bought it in like 2006.
Yeah.
So it's 21st century.
Yeah.
So they're saying even when he bought it, it was out of date. So that is something I find funny. But one of them, I'm not sure which one, uses a defabricator
Yeah.
on him, which is essentially a laser that just removes all the clothes off him. Yeah.
And he just stands there.
He just stands there with his hands on his hips, and he's like, am I naked in front of thousands of viewers?
And then he says,
Absolutely.
say, your viewing figures just went up.
Yeah.
And I put, why, Russell, why?
Well, you say why Russell, why? I know Russell originally wanted John Barrowman to have his ass out in their shot, but the BBC vetoed it, basically.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised either of those ways.
It's funny, though, because I feel like that shot you get of his back, it does feel a bit cropped. It does feel a bit like, I can imagine the camera actually originally showed a little more, and they just kind of cropped the bottom of the frame out.
Yeah.
So back in the Big Brother house, Doc, why don't I just call him Doc?
Doc. Doc Brown.
God, that's a first. Let's not do that again. The Doctor is trying to escape using his sonic screwdriver. He's like scanning all the panels and doors and stuff. Linda comes over and asks if people like her on the outside, people watching the show. He says, like, I don't know, I don't watch this stuff.
She's like, what do you mean? Everybody
She's like,
watches it.
Yeah, what do you mean everyone watches it? And then all of a sudden he has an answer and he says, oh, you're sweet.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks you're sweet.
And then she's like, oh, nobody's called me sweet before.
Yeah. I like Linda.
I do as well. And I'm going to say it a lot throughout this episode, but I ship them.
Yeah.
I ship them.
They do have quite good chemistry.
They do.
But yeah, it's around here I think that the Doctor's amnesia starts clearing and he remembers how he got there. After the events of Boomtown, when they dropped the egg back off at Raxacoricofallapatorius, he says they were leaving Kyoto in 1336. They were in the TARDIS and a bright light appeared, and then that's the last thing they remember. Linda says, yeah, that was the transmat. It can get you anywhere. And the Doctor basically says that, you know, no ordinary transmat could have done that, could have penetrated the TARDIS. It has to be like however many times more powerful. He says this isn't just a game, there's something else going on. And this is when he does that like stare down at the camera. He says, I'm going to get out and then I'm going to find you.
Well, he stares at a mirror, doesn't he? Because it's like a mirror on the wall or a piece of glass on the wall, which you can't see what's on the other side.
Yeah.
And he like stares into it. There's no camera that you can see, but he's like staring into it, knowing that there's a camera on the other side, if you know what I mean. Again, not that it matters, but exoglass is brought up. Yeah. I was like,
Yeah. And I was immediately ripped back to your little joke in our episode on the end of the world. Yeah, so the Doctor says, I'm going to find you. And then we cut to the two programmers in the control room that are a bit confused about the new appearances of people.
Yeah.
They say as if the games are running themselves, like unauthorized transmats are happening. It's just kind of just pulling people in. Back in the Big Brother house, Crosby, who is the one of the people in the house, the black lady, gets voted out. Everyone's really like emotional about it. I say everyone, there's only, not including the Doctor, there's only 3 people.
Oh,
but
no, this is something that I've noted, which made me laugh so much, is the fact that they're sitting on they're like, oh, Doctor, come sit down, we need to hear the verdict. And he's like, oh. So he sits down, and then Crosby just grabs his hand.
Yeah,
and he's just like,
yeah, they're holding hands, and she
like,
just grasps his hand, and he's just rolling his eyes like, for God's sake. Yeah, she gets voted out. Everyone's a little bit emotional. I can't remember the guy's name, but the guy's like, is it Strood? Is that his name? He's like, oh, it should have been me. It should have been me. I love when the Davina droid says, like, you have 10 seconds to say your goodbyes, and then we're going to get you. Yeah, so after they have their hugs and everything, she steps out into the... I thought it looks like a lift or something, but I don't really know.
It's like
a very small corridor.
Yeah, it's like a little waiting room, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's a countdown, and then at 0, a beam comes down and disintegrates her. And obviously everyone was watching this happen on the screen. Up to this point, the Doctor's just been kind of rolling his eyes.
He's been like, oh, get it over with. And she's like, it's so horrible.
Oh, no, he says, like, what are you crying for? She'll write a book, she'll make a fortune on the outside. And obviously it's like she'll have a pop career or something. Yeah. And Linda says, stop it, it's not funny. Yeah, this one the Doctor goes, what was that? And they said...
Oh, I hate this so
I know,
much.
I knew you were going to say this.
Because when we watch them, and I take notes to things to bring up, I often hear Connor laugh when something is said, and I'm instantly like...
Yeah, you're writing it
like writing it down.
Yeah. I assume you're referring to when...
She's been evicted from life.
I knew it. Yeah, I knew it.
I was like, why? No.
Yeah, she gets disintegrated. So that's the stake that's been set up here. You lose the game, you die. The Doctor goes in his little tirade saying, you know, what the hell are you doing this for? Is it really worth your life to get on the telly? And Linda and Strood say, oh, we don't have a choice. contestants are chosen at random and transmitted to one of the 60 Big Brother houses that are playing like simultaneously.
And Doctor goes 60, and then the guy's like, yeah, they had to make some cutbacks.
Yeah, yeah, budget cuts. Yeah, and he says, "What does the winner get? The winner gets to live. Is that it? Is that not enough?"
Fair enough.
Yeah.
We go back to
this is the point that the Doctor realizes that Rose is probably a contestant as well in a game of some sort. So he destroys a camera.
Yeah, because he hears that Linda with an I.
Yes.
Linda with a Y tells him that Linda with an I was evicted for damage to property.
Yeah. So he destroys the camera with his sonic. Yeah. And then we cut back to Jack.
Well, first of all, we cut originally. We'll jump because again you can do it.
Go on.
We go to Rose, and she's actually again on the weakest link, answering questions.
Yeah.
And her first question is so easy. It's like, what's 2001 minus 1,000? And she's like, or something like that.
Yeah. It's just a very basic arithmetic question.
And she's just laughing at when people get the question wrong, and then they ask her a hard question. She's like, "How should I know?"
Yeah. Yeah, she's laughing it off, and you have the programmers behind the camera going, "Why is she laughing?"
Yeah.
It's like, "Oh God, I don't think she knows."
Yeah, so you have that. We also have in the Jack, when we go back to Jack, they say about they're trying looks on him.
Yes.
And they say how one look looks very President Schwarzenegger. I was like, if only.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Was he governor of California at this point?
Good question. I think he may have. If not, it wouldn't have been long.
Yeah.
I think he was running. He was like running for politics then. But
at this point, Jack has got like a pair of black jeans, white shirt, and he's asking about like what color he should get his jacket, and the droid says like, "No, you never mix black with color. It makes the It makes the color look cheap and the black look boring."
Yeah. I've noted Jack gropes the robot's bosoms.
Yeah, he does. He's coming onto the one. He's like touching all up.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's very much enjoying himself.
He's loving life with them.
Yeah.
Then it cuts back to Rose, and they have the vote. And
yes, the first voting sequence. Well, we do. I think it's during this first round of questions that we actually get our very first reference to Torchwood.
Yes, we do. It was like what
British Institute, blah 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 blah,
made this or something.
And the guy says touchdown, and the editor says
Torchwood.
Torchwood. So that's fun. At this point, obviously, Torchwood wasn't a spin-off show, and it was not even the institution that we come to know yet. Torchwood at this point was literally the I can't remember what you call it. You know when like films are coming out and they give it like a code name, so if something gets leaked, no one knows what it actually is.
Yeah.
They had one of those for Doctor Who, and Torchwood was like the code phrase for Doctor Who because it was an anagram of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And that's all it was. So this was literally just like a little reference to that. And obviously it never was intended to be a plot point until the next series.
Yeah.
So that's a little fun.
I love stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then the woman gets eliminated. You are the weakest link. Goodbye.
Yes. Yeah, you are the weakest link.
Goodbye.
And opens its mouth and fires a disintegrator beam out and kills him. Just something, again, another little like behind the scenes thing I thought you might find interesting is that when they were filming these weakest link scenes, the android read out different questions every time they did a take.
Oh.
Just to try and throw the actors off. So when they ask a question and one of the characters is like, like those were mostly genuine reactions because they didn't know what questions were coming.
Yeah.
So that's kind of fun.
That is fun.
Yeah, after it's a woman that gets disintegrated first, isn't it? She's
blonde
on this.
woman.
She's like, the lights, let me try again. And she gets disintegrated. And then the young guy on the end says like, I can't do it. And he goes to run away.
Because Rose is about to run off.
Yeah, Rose is going on this tirade saying, you're all sick. But this guy says like, yeah, I can't do it. I don't want to do it. And he goes to run away, and then the android just goodbye. Just zaps him and kills him. Yeah. So, yeah, Roderick, I think it's technically a little later he says this, but Roderick does say to Rose that he essentially wants to keep her in because she's
stupid,
thick.
yeah.
She's thick. He wants to keep her in till the end so he can win, get his prize. Credits courtesy of the Bad Wolf Corporation, who we find out are running the game station. Rose remembers Bad Wolf. She says, I've heard that before. I've heard that lots of times. And we kind of get this little, like, quick series of flashbacks to all the reminders, I guess, of every time that Bad Wolf has been said. Well, I say shown. Every time. Something like 3.
Yeah.
It's just Gwyneth saying it. It's the Bad Wolf one descending, and it's the...
On the TARDIS. Written on the TARDIS as well.
Oh, yeah. So you get the 3 verbal mentions. So you get Gwyneth saying the big bad wolf, you get the helicopter pilot saying Bad Wolf 1 descending, and then you get the Doctor saying Blythe Droog.
And you have
and then you get the flashes of it written on the TARDIS and the Bad Wolf TV from the long game.
Yeah, he says, you're stupid. I'm keeping you in.
Yeah. And
then, they flash back. And then she says about how those words are following her. And he's like, what are you on about?
Yeah, he's like, what are you talking about? Back in the Big Brother house, the Davina droid says the Doctor's being evicted. He's very happy about it. He's very bouncy. Strood says, like, oh, he's a plant. I knew it. I knew there was something off about him. So he gets into the little tunnel that the woman was evicted from. The timer counts down, reaches 0, and nothing happens. The Doctor just kind of laughs and says, I knew it. If someone wanted to kill me, they would have killed me anyway. Someone wants me here alive. So he sonics the door, not the door he came through, but the door on the other side.
But it does open the door to...
It opens
Big
both
Brother.
doors, yeah. So the Doctor's going to leave, but he offers the others to come with him. Strood says no. Linda is hesitant. She's like, oh, I can't. But he says, what is it? He says,
I promise you'll get out alive.
Yeah, he says, Linda, you're sweet, but in a world like this, do you think anyone votes for sweet? You can stay and you have a 50% chance of getting out, or you can come with me and I promise to get you out, basically.
Yikes.
Yeah, well, yikes. So she goes with him. And they enter this big kind of like warehousey kind of room.
It's like the main hallway between all the corridors.
Between all the Big Brother houses, yeah. And the Doctor recognises it as Satellite 5 from the long game.
And she says, it hasn't been called that for 100 years.
Yeah.
I like this scene because he said, oh, I was there 100 years ago when it changed.
Yeah.
And she said, 100 years ago. She's like, you look good for it. And he's like, I moisturise.
Yeah.
He's so cheeky. I love him.
Yeah. So the Doctor asks where Jack and Rose could be. Linda says they could be anywhere. There's hundreds of different games. She rattles them off. She says, countdown with the bomb.
Call my bluff.
Call my bluff with real guns.
Ground force.
That's a nasty one.
Get turned into compost.
Yeah.
Wipeout. Self-explanatory.
Yeah.
And stars in their eyes.
Literally stars in their eyes. Yeah.
Again, this is my... I think this is a good time to mention it. This is my main gripe with it, is the fact that they're all so of their time.
Yeah.
And I think, I've said this before, what would have made it better for me is if it been a new TV show.
Well, if they made some new ones.
If they'd like if I don't know, say Big Brother was the same. I mean, obviously they would have kept down like Weakest Link.
Yeah.
But if one of them was something from our time, and then 2 were different, or 2 were from our time, and
so
then
if we kept like the Weakest Link, but
got rid of Big Brother and something else.
And just made original stuff.
And
just implied that that's something that came later.
Yeah, because then I'd be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just
or at the very least, bring back something from like the 60s. Do you know what I mean? Something that hadn't been remade yet.
Yeah,
like an
that's
old
true.
game show, something like that.
Would it be funny if they'd done Bullseye and then it would have been...
Yeah. Well, no, because Bullseye...
It would have been pretty new then, wouldn't it? Well,
Bullseye ran for years. Bullseye started
Yeah, but I'm on about, like, it hadn't ended that long ago.
To be honest, it might have still been running.
It might have, yeah.
It might have still been running when this came out. I don't know. But yeah, she asks who he is. He says, doesn't matter. She says, well, I think it does. I'll just put my life in your hands. Which, like, fair enough.
Yeah.
He says he's a traveller. He says, I don't tend to stick around in one place too long. I kind of just whiz around. She asks if she can go with him. He says, yeah. She says, oh, I won't get in the way. He's like, I wouldn't mind if you did.
I just love that. It's so cute. I'm so sad.
You did say he was a little flirt, didn't you?
He's such a flirt. Right, I'll bring this up later. But there's one thing I went, oh. But I'll bring it up later. But yeah, like, the way... I don't know, the way he just speaks to it, it's so sweet. It's like, wouldn't mind if you did. And she's like, oh, I think it's because the way she asks. I guess she doesn't know that he's, well, I guess she assumed he's time and space because he said he was there 100 years ago, but... Or
she just thinks he's nuts, but she's all right with it.
Yeah. But yeah, she was like, I could come with you. Like, it's not like, oh, take me with you. It's like, oh, I could if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah. She's very polite, isn't she?
She's very sweet.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the doctor says they have to find out who's controlling the satellite. So Linda runs over, turns on the lights, and the doctor sees the Bad Wolf Corporation sign up on the wall in big letters. So upstairs in the control room on floor 500, which we obviously know was the floor that the editor and the Jagrafess were on like 100 years prior. The programmers looking at the transmat logs to see how these new people have got on board. The woman, I don't think they're ever given names, because I looked for their names in the credits and they just credited them as male programmer and female programmer.
Yeah, I will say though, I always get pulled out of this scene. And it's not anybody's fault but my own.
Right.
Because the female programmer was in Tracy Beaker.
Was she a CBBC person?
She was Elaine in Tracy Beaker, who was like a very ditzy, not all there together, like social worker.
Right.
So, and I used to watch that show religiously as a child. So when she's being serious and playing like a serious character and they give her a machine gun later on or some sort, I'm like, look at Elaine with a machine gun. Again,
that's fair enough.
I can imagine I don't know, I would say not many people think that way, but do you mean it was a CBBC, which was children's channel.
Yeah,
BBC
it'll be interesting when we get to midnight, if you'll be pointing at Jethro and just see him as Merlin the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, a child of CBBC and BBC, so those shows were my thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, oh, it's Elaine.
But Elaine, or Lady Programmer, is refused entry to Archive 6.
By the controller.
Yeah, this is when we're introduced to the controller, who is she albino? It's a lady with very 2000s spiked frosted tips, maybe blonde hair.
She's got like...
She's very pale.
Well, it's not... They're like... what are they called? It's like they've taken her hair...
Well, like cornrows, isn't it, kind of?
It's kind of. Yeah, it's like they've tightly put like... There's no braiding, but they've just put a little elastic bands all over her head. Again, very 90s hairstyle.
Yeah. But anyway, she's very pale. Her hair is very blonde, almost like white blonde.
Yeah. She's blind.
She's blind.
Her eyes are white.
Yeah. And she's like plugged into a bunch of tubes, and she's kind of suspended in like a frame.
Yeah.
Looks like a very uncomfortable existence.
Yeah. And she just like mutters.
She just kind of like mutters numbers.
Yeah.
It's almost as if she is the computer.
Well, yeah, she is, isn't she?
So when Lady Programmers refused entry to Archive 6, the controller says it's out of bounds.
And she just warns them about solar flares.
Yeah, she's constantly talking about solar flares.
She's like,
the man gets annoyed after a while, doesn't he? He goes, forget the solar flares.
It's like they're just running round down there. We're supposed to leave them. And she's like, warning of solar flares.
Yeah. He says that there are contestants wandering around outside the games. She says, they are no one. Go back to work. Yeah, and then just this whole spiel about solar flares. Back in What Not to Wear.
Oh, yes. Oh, so they've now said that they're going to change Jack's face.
Yeah, they say it's time for the face-off. And he says, "Oh, do I get a fight against another contestant?" And they go, "No, face off." And she pulls out a chainsaw.
And so, like, shears. Oh, what about without a head?
Yeah. What if I put a dog head on him? That would be outrageous. And then
he pulls.
He pulls out a gun. She says, "That's a compact laser deluxe.
Yeah.
Where were you hiding that? You really don't want to know." And he just blasts the both of them.
Oh, and then he says, "The pleasure was all mine, which in the end is the only thing that matters."
Yeah, which I'm not sure if that's meant to be funny or if that's meant to be creepy.
Or both.
Yeah, like it does make me laugh, but at the same time, that's the first time where Jack gives me icky vibes.
I love the fact that it's still running.
His hearing, you mean?
Some people are like, "My God, you need to watch this channel. He's just blown him up."
Nan, get in here. Yeah, so he's turned the defabricator into like a big cannon.
Yeah.
It's like a Gatling gun. It's massive. He needs two hands to hold it. Yeah, he says the pleasure was all mine, which is all that matters in the end.
And then he chooses an outfit.
Yeah.
Which is leather trousers.
Interesting choice.
Not ideal for combat.
No, and what was it? A white t-shirt and like a black.
Is this like
a vest?
Yeah, it's like it looks like
like a commando vest or something.
A bomber jacket, like a black bomber jacket. It might be leather. I don't know.
He likes leather.
He does like leather. But yeah. Interesting choice. But
so
hey.
he backs out with his new ray gun and he starts looking for the doctor. Back on the observation deck, Linda's basically telling the doctor what happened since his last visit during the events of the long game. Obviously, during that story, the doctor said everything should go back on course now. Our development of technology and all that stuff should essentially revert to the way it should be.
Yeah.
But instead of that happening, it's all gotten worse.
She said all the news channels were just shut off overnight.
Yeah.
And nobody, including the government or the armies, knew what to do.
Yeah. When the doctor shut down Satellite 5, all the broadcasts stopped. Planet froze, society collapsed. Yeah, and so, humans are still essentially just mindless sheep. It's just now, instead of watching the news, we're watching game shows.
No, so fair.
Which is arguably worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jack manages to find them. I don't think we ever actually get a scene of him bumping into them. It's just when we come back to them, Jack's just there now.
He's saying hello.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, hello." And the doctor's like, "Stop flirting." He's like, I was just saying hello. And he's like, "For you, that is flirting."
Yeah. The doctor's scanning the computer looking for Rose. Yeah, while Jack's introducing himself to Linda with a Y. The doctor says that the station is transmitting more than just games. Bad Wolf is creating a trap for him, and it's a trap that Rose is stuck inside. Eventually, though, he does work out that she's on floor 407.
Which, again, Linda's reaction to the thing of like, "Oh God, she's with the android."
Yeah. So back on the weakest link, dun, 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 dun.
It's just Rose and Roderick.
Rose and Roderick, one-on-one. Which
he doesn't do that. He doesn't do that well. To be fair, Rose gets one question right.
Yeah, she guesses the face of Bo correctly.
Yeah.
Roderick gets 2 right.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, it's enough for him to win.
And his reaction...
It's very funny.
"You've lost!"
He goes, "Oh my God, I've done it!" And then he turns around and looks at her dead in the eye and goes, "You've lost!"
It's like, damn, she's about to die.
Yeah, I know.
It's not like "I'm so sorry. I wish this could be different." He's like, "You've lost. I'm going to get my money."
Because we get the camera slowly pushing in on Rose, and she's saying, "You lot are sick. You can't do this. You can't just kill me because I've lost." And right next to her, Roderick's looking at the android going, "Thank you so much. I've had a great time."
Yeah. He's just a terrible person.
He's awful,
man.
Isn't he? Yeah.
And we see him later on, and you're just like,
he's just the
God.
slimiest guy.
Honestly, just slime.
Yeah, so Rose loses to Roderick in the weakest link. At this point, the Doctor, Jack, and Linda get into the studio. He says, "Stop this game!" Rose sees him and runs towards him. But the android turns and essentially blasts Rose.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. And leaves nothing but a pile of dust.
This is so, like, this is brilliant. I'm just going to say this is brilliant because it's so good because the Doctor just, like, goes down and he's like, she's dead. And then he's just, like, digging around her ashes.
Yeah, and
then in the background, you can just kind of see and hear Jack just screaming, like, you killed her! And he's there, like, waving the gun around.
Waving the gun around at everyone. He's going, you killed her! And and then these guards come in and start trying to take them away, and Jack's, like, fighting, and the Doctor's just there, like, on his knees, and he's, like, being handcuffed, and he's just not even reacting. He's just kind of looking down.
But I think it's so cool how they've kind of, like, toned down the sound. I don't know the actual terminology for that.
I know what you
but
mean. Yeah,
like it's kind of like white noise, as if like the Doctor's
drowning everything out. He's just in his own world, isn't he?
Really good.
Yeah, he's kind of like gone numb a little bit. I tell you what I love about this. Not only do I think that's just handled well in terms of it's like a well executed scene, but even if I watch this now for the first time, I'd believe it. I wouldn't think this is a fake out.
Yeah.
I can totally believe Rose dying, because the way the scene is built up throughout The Weakest Link and the whole the whole running theme throughout this series of
promising he'll keep her safe,
and her kind of voluntarily diving into danger. If she died here, I would believe it.
Do you think that's mainly because of how, again, I haven't seen original Who, but as far as I'm aware, it's not like that as much? I feel like new Who just throws the companions into danger all the time. I think old Who, they leave more, didn't they?
Companions are always in danger in classic Who, because the common trope was they were normally just young girls who were there to get kidnapped.
Yeah.
So the Doctor had to save them. But yeah, not many of them actually died.
That's what I mean. Most of them die, like
in New Who.
In New Who.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why. Maybe that's why.
Yeah.
Do you think?
No, because again, like I hadn't seen any classic Who as a kid, but no, I think it's purely based on the merit of this season and this episode in particular. I think we'll probably talk about this a little more later when we do like a bit of a recap on the whole thing, but one of the strengths I find with this episode is I love the stakes. I find a lot of the time Doctor Who has fallen into this trap where every series the showrunners feel the need to up the stakes more and more to the point where it becomes just untangible. Do you know what I mean? Like when you have like even Stephen Moffat's first series with Series 5, the stakes are blowing up the TARDIS to reset the universe. Do you know what I mean? Or you have, jumping into the Doctor's time stream, or you have the whole like confession dial thing and having to like pull Clark. Do you know what I mean? Everything's such like high stakes, even in Russell's era. Do you know what I mean? Even when you go to like Journey's End, like I like Stolen Earth, Journey's End as episodes, but those stakes are so high.
It's ridiculous.
It doesn't give you like you can't really
relate to it.
Yeah, where with this, everything feels so natural. I believe every time a character is in danger in a scene, I believe they could die.
Yeah.
And I think the stakes feel very natural.
I agree with that.
Not just in terms of how it's all set up through episodes like The Long Game, like plot-wise, but yeah, I don't know, just it feels very I don't feel like I'm watching someone being like, right, I've got to write the series finale, and the finale has to be a really high stakes. This just feels like the natural conclusion to the episodes we've seen this far.
That's fair enough, yeah.
Yeah. So the three of them get arrested. The Doctor has his little mugshot. He's being interrogated. The guard asks him what the purpose of the Sonic is. He asks him something else, and I can't remember what he asked him, but then Linda says, like, leave him alone, and he just grabs her by the face.
Yeah.
And says, I'm asking him.
Didn't he ask him, like, where he's come from? Because, like, the trans mat wasn't like quite right, like he wasn't chosen or something.
Yeah,
like it or something.
Yeah, something like that. But the Doctor's staying quiet, and when the guard turns around to leave, he says, "Let's do it." And he says, "Let's do it." Jack essentially jumps and like drop kicks this guy and knocks him out. Like 3 more guards show up. Jack takes them all out bar one. The doctor grabs one and just throws him headfirst into a wall.
Poor Linda's just like, what's going on?
Which is funny, isn't it? Because it's like, I know, don't get me wrong, I know it's not like he's like pointing a gun at them or anything, but you never see the doctor
fight
this hands-on in combat, do you know what I mean? So this is very much, I don't know how much of this is just Ninth Doctor being a bit edgier than the others, and how much of this is the Doctor's pissed after.
Well, yeah, he's just lost Rose, isn't he?
Yeah. But yeah, other than that one guy that the Doctor throws into a wall, Jack takes like 3 people out.
Yeah.
They grab a bunch of guns and they head up to floor 500. So in the control room, they go up in the lift, the doors open, Jack and the Doctor essentially wave all the programmers to one side. The Doctor asks who's in charge. The controller doesn't answer because it's almost as if she... Well, the guy says, doesn't he?
You're not staff.
She can't hear you. She's plugged into the system. She's basically the computer. Because you're not staff, she doesn't recognise your existence.
Yeah.
The doctor, when he starts talking to the doctor like turns around and he goes, "Oh, don't shoot!" And he goes, "Oh, don't be daft," as if I was ever going to shoot, and just throws him the gun.
And he's just holding it. He's like, "No, put it down, please." He's like, "Make it quick.
If you want, make it quick."
I like this bit. Jack tries to get into, what would you call it earlier? Like holding room 6 or something. What were you calling it? Like the storeroom to the side.
Well, the room the TARDIS is in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, just like a storage room.
You literally mentioned it earlier because Elaine tried to get in and they were like, no access.
Oh, right, sorry. I have to go back through my notes.
I did not know.
Archive 6.
Archive 6, that's the one, yeah. Jack tries to get into Archive 6 and Elaine says, I'm going to call her Elaine, okay? Elaine says, that's out of bounds. And Jack, dual wielding 2 guns, looks at her and goes, do I look like a sort of out of bounds guy?
Yeah, he's just waving these submachine guns around. He's like, do I look like an out of bounds sort of guy?
Fair.
Yeah. The male programmer is talking to the Doctor about the controller. Says she was installed at 5 years old. She's never known anything else. She's been plugged in so long that her eyes have like atrophied from disuse. She only sees the code basically. So the Doctor says there's more going on at the game station than just the games. And the programmer says, you're right, we've noticed this. We've been picking up unauthorized transmats for years. At this point, Jack actually gets into Archive 6 and he finds the TARDIS.
I do wonder, because I don't know whether I missed it, what was the reason he was going in there?
Into Archive 6?
Because they didn't... Did they know the TARDIS was in there?
I don't think so.
I don't think they did either. He just by chance decided to break into a room.
Don't question it.
Don't question it.
He goes in, he enters the TARDIS. I assume Jack has a key now.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, he goes inside, he activates the console. He's looking on the computer and he finds something. He goes, what the hell? And then, back in the other room, the solar flare that was foreshadowed earlier happens. All the screens go static, all the transmissions are blocked, and now the controller calls out for the Doctor.
Yeah.
She says that while the flare's happening, her masters can't read her thoughts. They've been controlling her mind all her life. She saw the Doctor in the transmissions and brought him here, hiding him in the games.
Yeah.
What an awful life she has.
Yeah.
Good God.
Well, that's the thing, because she technically is doing the job that... Oh, what's her name? Begins with a K in the long game.
Kathika.
Kathika. She's basically doing Kathika's job, but has been doing it for, I don't know, I'm guessing she's in her 30s? Maybe 40s? I don't know.
I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell.
Yeah, but she's been doing it for a long time with
decades,
no break.
We'll
Decades,
say that.
Yeah. And she's been doing it all of her life, non-stop. And she's actually wired into this thing.
Yeah. The Doctor asks who the masters are. She says, I can't say who they are. She's been genetically altered to be unable to say it. They've been hiding and shaping the Earth for centuries, growing in number. At this point, the solar flare ends, and yeah, she obviously can't talk anymore.
Yeah.
Jack appears and says that the TARDIS worked something out. He tells Linda to stand over by the door. She says, like, I just want to go home.
Yeah.
He's like, it'll only take a second, please. Sends her over and zaps her with the laser. Mm-hmm. And the doctor goes, well, you killed her. He goes, oh, you think? And another laser appears next to the doctor and she reappears. And he basically says the disintegrators are part of a secondary transmat system. People don't die in the games, they just get moved somewhere else. Obviously, the result of this is that Rose is still alive. Mm-hmm. They have this big hug. This is one of several moments in these episodes where I remember that's where they used to cut to adverts. I know that's so like.
What, at that point?
Yeah. It's when he goes. It's when he goes. Rose is still alive, and they hug, and the doctor goes, ha ha, and then it used to cut there. It's funny because obviously when it aired originally, it would have been on BBC One, so no adverts. But I used to catch the reruns on. It might have been Gold or something like that. And these two episodes are probably the episodes of Doctor Who I've seen the most. So I'm very familiar with where these two episodes specifically cut to the adverts.
Which is just so weird.
Yeah, like another one later is it's in the next episode, but you know when all the Daleks are shouting exterminate and they're firing at the TARDIS and the Doctor's just got his head against the door. Yeah, that was another one. I just remember certain points just where it used to cut to the adverts. At this point, we find out Rose is still alive and we see her wake up.
And we see her through a Dalek's lens.
Through a POV shot, tinted blue. It's weird, like I can't tell if they wanted this to be like a grand reveal or not, because it's like...
Well, they literally spoiled it in the last one, didn't they?
That's true, yeah.
The end of the last one.
Yeah, in the next time trailer after Boomtown, you literally have that shot of the Daleks going, alert, alert, we are detected.
Yeah. It's like, well, now you are.
Yeah. But yeah, Rose wakes up on the ship. The Dalek approaches her and she backs up. Yeah, she looks a bit... she says, like, oh, it can't be, and she's backing up. The controller gives the Doctor coordinates to where Rose has been transported, knowing that now the solar flare's gone, her masters will be able to find her, but she does it anyway. So she gives him a bunch of numbers, she gets teleported, she appears on the same ship as Rose. She says, you can kill me now, because I've brought you destruction.
And then she gets exterminated.
Doesn't she just?
Not as much as Jack later on.
Oh, Jack gets knocked off his feet.
He does.
Yeah. Yeah, they've traced the transmat beam to a point at the edge of the solar system. They bring it up on the monitor and the screen appears empty. It looks like there's nothing there. But there's another signal being transmitted by the satellite that's hiding what's there. The same people who installed the Jagrafess 200 years ago, manipulating mankind for generations.
Doctor says somebody's been playing the long game.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah, the Doctor cancels out that signal and he sees, I think he says 200 Dalek ships, each containing more than 2,000 of them. He thought they'd been destroyed, but somehow they survived. Just something else as well. You know how I said that I feel like the stakes in this finale are like really good? The Daleks actually still feel threatening here.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Not as much as they do in Dalek, because obviously they're not like... The one in Dalek is meant to be like a one-man army, but like... I don't know. I feel like the issue with later stories is the Daleks lose their intimidation factor.
I mean, I don't find them that intimidating in this.
Like, I don't find them scary. Like, I'm not scared of watching it, but it's like...
Well, no, but I'm... Like, I wouldn't say they're that intimidating.
You don't think so?
No.
I think they are. I think it got a bit tiring, the whole thing of them being like... They were all wiped out in the Time War except for this one. All right, this one's dead. Right, they're all gone now. Oh, wait, no, there's some more. But these are the last ones. We'll kill these. Oh, wait, no, there's more. But these are the last ones. Trust me. Trust me this time. And they die. Oh, wait, no, there's more. Do you know what I mean? But obviously, because this is only like the first time it's really happened, I don't know, that hasn't gotten annoying yet. And I think they're not easily defeated in any way. So
I guess, kind of, yeah.
because you get to later, I think of like, I don't know, Eve of the Daleks, where Dan is literally like chasing one in circles, or like, I don't know, in Victory of the Daleks, when the 11th Doctor is like whacking one with a pipe and stuff like that, and it's like nothing like that's happening here. They're just going around and they're just killing everybody.
Yeah. I think one thing I would like to bring up here is I think it's a very good idea, like the plan of the Daleks.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's cool the fact that they thought of, well, we need to take, because we find out they've been taking people and using them to rebuild the Dalek army.
Yes.
And I think it's such a cool idea, the fact that they're like, well, we can't just take people.
People will notice.
People will notice.
Yeah.
Well, we'll make game shows where people have to fight to the death and people die, but they don't die. We just take them.
We just say no one will miss them.
And nobody will miss them. And people will think, oh, that's just part of the game shows.
And again, I think it's that thing that the Daleks have lost in recent years that show that the Daleks are really calculating.
Yeah.
In Dalek, the Doctor describes it as a genius.
Yeah.
And we don't see a lot of that in later episodes. They just kind of made out to be like grunts. But yeah, we forget like the Daleks are very strategic.
Yeah.
And very calculating.
That's one thing. If and when, because I'm sure we'll get them back. I'm sure it'll be a while.
Yeah.
Because I think everyone's kind of fed up of them a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that one thing I'm hoping for is that we get that more. That they're not just...
Yeah.
Do you mean because
this is my problem? I don't know if you'll agree with the reason, because I know you love Steve. I know you love Stephen Moffat, but I don't think Moffat's very good at writing the Daleks.
I think the issue is that is true, but I think that in the sense of he's not very good at writing them scary, but I don't think he was intending to. I think it's
just more fitting with the tone he was going for.
I think he was like, well, we've done scary now. There's only so much you can do.
Let's make them not scary.
Let's make them ridiculous. At least it's something new.
Let's give them Power Ranger colours.
Yeah, at least it's something new, because, there's only so much you can do, and when you're contractually obliged to put them in every season...
Yeah.
Do you mean you can't keep going, oh, the scary Daleks have come back and, like you said, we kill them again?
Yeah.
I mean, you need to do something different. So I don't think it's necessarily his fault. I think he's just tried to do something different with them.
That's fair enough. It'd be interesting to actually have, like, as if I could ever do that, but it'd be interesting to have a conversation with him to basically say, is that what you were going for?
I would
Or did you actually try and you're just not very good at making them scary?
I would love to pick his brain about Doctor Who. Just ideas. Do you know what? I know it would be, he probably would never divulge, but I'd love to know, like, go on, tell us some stories that you had ideas for, but you just never made. Go on.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
It'd be really good to get, like, all three showrunners.
I wish do you know what? I wish they would do a podcast.
I think the closest you can get to that is, I don't know if Moffat ever did them, but I know Russell used to do commentaries with, I think it was Julie Gardner and Phil Collinson, the producers.
Yeah.
And he used to, I think it was on BBC Sounds, and he used to do commentaries on all his episodes. So I think you can find those.
But like that thing you
But they have
me...
guests on this sometimes, because I know there was one, like, for, say, Science in the Library, and David Tennant was on there as well.
Oh.
So you can find those, but they're like essentially watching the episode and commentating on it in real time.
Yeah. See,
it's not as much of a podcast environment.
See, because that was I don't know.
Oh, you're on about that thing I saw on Instagram not long ago. Yeah,
no, clap.
Yeah, that was something they did. That Russell T
Christmas.
Davies and Stephen Moffat did for Christmas. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I wish we had more of that. I'd watch if they just did little.
Just big nerds.
Yeah, I wish they just did more little episodes for me to watch.
There's probably loads of stuff out there you haven't seen on YouTube.
Yeah, but I do like a proper. That was cozy. I want something.
I want it produced.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, at this point, the Daleks open communications.
Mm-hmm.
The Dalek. The Dalek that seems to just be taking the lead for some reason tells the Doctor not to intervene or they'll exterminate Rose.
Mm-hmm.
And the Doctor says no. And the Dalek demands an explanation. He says, "What do you mean? No. What is the meaning of this negative? I said no." The Doctor says, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to rescue Rose from the middle of a Dalek fleet. I'm going to save the Earth. And last, just to wrap up, I'm going to wipe every last stinking Dalek out of the sky.
And he says, and the worst thing is, you have no idea how I'm going to do it. And that scares.
Yeah.
Scares.
Yeah, they say you have no weapons, no plan. He says, yeah. And doesn't that scare you to death? Yeah. So the Doctor says, Rose, I'm coming to get you. And he cuts the transmission, and then we have a shot of like thousands of Daleks gathering for battle, just shouting "Exterminate!" No. What?
This made me laugh in the episode. The fact that they're all surrounding Rose, and then the Doctor's like, "I am coming to get you, Rose," and then he ends the transmission, and they all instantly just turn around and go to their little consoles, and she's just standing there like, They're like, he's on his way, quick, do something.
Yeah. So they're all shouting "Exterminate!" and they're prepping for battle.
Yeah.
And that's the cliffhanger.
Yeah.
That's the end of Bad Wolf.
Yeah.
I do wonder if it's better for us when we do these double episodes, whether it's better at the end for us to talk about the two, or whether we're better off.
I say speak at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can cover it all.
Because I only say that just because I know you said earlier that you preferred the second episode. I do as well. Yeah. We'll just get straight into the parting of the ways. So the Daleks ask Rose what the Doctor's going to do to essentially like anticipate his move. She refuses. She says, I don't know, but even if I did, I wouldn't tell you.
Fair.
The Daleks detect the TARDIS flying towards them, so they fire some missiles. We get this lovely shot of the TARDIS like spinning towards the ship, and these missiles firing, and they hit the TARDIS, and a massive explosion happens.
This is one thing I was a bit like, I didn't quite understand.
Yeah.
Rose says to the Daleks, oh, but it has no, like, security or...
Yeah, no shields.
No shields. You'll kill him. Well, yeah. That's probably their plan, Rose.
Yeah, what are you going to say in it?
Yeah.
She's not going to sit there in silence.
Yeah, but still, you know, it's like she's trying to, like, talk him down from it. You're going to kill him. Oh, sorry, we didn't realise that. We thought sending the missiles would just, you know, scare him a little.
Never meant to kill, only to maim or seriously injure. Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the TARDIS has no shields, except it does, because...
Yeah, I think that it was a bit too much...
Because Jack has used Blonde's extrapolator, her surfboard, to shield the TARDIS, which is just nice. It's a throwaway line, so you miss that line and you miss that entire thing, but I like that comes back from Boomtown. The TARDIS starts to materialise on the ship around Rose and a Dalek that's standing next to her. Once everything's fully materialised, the Doctor tells Rose to get down, and Jack fires his big gun.
Big beefy gun.
Yeah, made from the defabricator. He fires it at the Dalek and it just explodes.
Oh, I would love it if it fired it at the Dalek and then the actual little squiddy Dalek just fell to the ground.
Oh, the casing disappears.
Just got rid of his casing.
It's to stay on the floor going, ah! Yeah. Yeah, the Doctor says since the Dalek survived, the Time Lord has basically died for nothing. Yeah, Rose is like, what are we going to do? And he's like, well, let's go have a conversation. Let's go meet the neighbours.
Yeah.
They leave the TARDIS. The Daleks try to exterminate them, but just hit the shield because the extrapolator is protecting them. We get this moment where the Doctor says, like, nothing can get through the shield. And Jack goes, almost anything. He goes, yeah, but I wasn't going to tell them that, thanks.
Yeah, I like that.
This is when the Doctor kind of starts goading the Daleks. He says, like, do you know what they call me? He's
the
like,
oncoming storm.
The oncoming storm. He says, even though you've had all your emotion removed, I think there's still one thing left in you, and that's fear.
Which we already know that is the case.
Well, yeah, we talked about that during Dalek, didn't we? Yeah, and I think it is the case, even if these Daleks weren't part human, as we come to find out. Yeah, I think Daleks in general do fear things. Yeah, he asks how they survived the Time War, and we hear, they survived through me. And we get the lights come on. I love that he's just chilling in the dark.
Yeah.
But the lights come on and we see the Emperor Dalek, and he's massive.
I have so many questions about the Emperor Dalek.
Yes. I will be able to answer probably none of them. Go on.
Okay, that's fine. So I'm assuming he has been in a previous Doctor Who episode?
I don't think so. Not to my knowledge. I don't think he's from Classic Who.
So it's just... Who is he?
He's the Emperor Dalek.
What is that? That means nothing.
No, the Daleks are weird, right? Because the Daleks...
Is it supposed to be the Emperor Dalek because he's a Dalek that survived and he's made himself a god? Do you know what I mean?
I don't know. That would make more sense. But I don't know. The Dalek hierarchy is very weird because obviously you have... Davros is their creator. And to my knowledge, in the classic series, the Daleks obviously follow his orders. But by the time Davros returns in New Who, they don't. Even though he's their creator, they've kind of evolved past him.
Yeah.
And they have a... Because I guess they have a respect for him, but they don't...
Yeah, because he's not a Dalek.
No.
And
he's
they only...
Khaled, I think.
And they only want Daleks.
Yeah.
So
that's what I think in New Who, it basically comes to... They allow him to live because he's their creator.
Yeah, I put Emperor Dalek is compensating for something.
He's massive, isn't
He's massive. And it's so funny because he's like this tiny little
squid boy in a
tank.
massive tank that's like the size of a warehouse. It's huge.
Yeah.
The thing is as well, he can't even move.
No.
He's not even like the other Daleks that can just like go for a walk. He's just like chilling.
And he's just viewing the world as well.
Yeah.
He's opened his shell.
Yeah.
And he's just looking around. I think it's very interesting though, because I really like his design. Because obviously he's in this little weird bluey goo.
Yes.
But when you have like close cuts of him, it looks like his well, we'll say skin is like peeling.
Yeah, he looks
and he's kind
very
of like,
broken.
Yeah, it looks like he's kind of like decaying a little bit in this little group in this goo.
Yeah.
And that's what's like keeping him stable. I think
Yeah.
it's quite cool because obviously I wonder if that goo is the goo that was on the Dalek in Dalek.
Probably.
Like, do they have to?
Yeah, because they're not just dry in their casing.
stay
They are wet.
moisturised.
They are wet.
They've just got goo. He's just got extra goo.
Not extra goo.
He moisturizes.
Yeah. So the Emperor says his ship survived the Time War by falling through time. He spent centuries hiding in dark space, rebuilding, harvesting humans, converting genetic material into Daleks. So Rose comes to the conclusion that they're half human. And this is when we get them all going, "Do not blaspheme." The Emperor says, "I reached into the dirt and made new life. I am the god of all Daleks." And you get that, "Worship him." And the Doctor basically says, "Since when have Daleks had a concept of blasphemy?"
Yeah.
He basically says, he works out Rose is right, basically. They are kind of half human, and because of the Daleks' very nature, it's basically the same conflict we had in Dalek, wasn't it? Where got human DNA in there, and because of their very concept of trying to cleanse everything to be pure Dalek, they are kind of driven mad by their own existence. Yeah, so at this point, they go back inside the TARDIS, and they return to the game station. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say this next little bit. So they're kind of like talking about the plan, aren't they, of how to get rid of them.
Yeah.
And the Doctor suggests this big old...
The Delta Wave.
The Delta Wave, yeah. Actually, carry on, because the bit I was going to say is a little bit into it.
Okay, yeah. So the Doctor's telling the programmers to turn up the transmitters so the Daleks can't transmit onto the station, so they can't just teleport there and just kill everybody. Jack does say, though, that won't stop them boarding, like, physically.
Yeah.
The Doctor says, "What are you still doing here?" Because Linda's still on board. She says, "Oh, I didn't want to leave you."
Oh, that's the thing I was
Are you on about Rose?
I noted, yeah. Because Rose goes to help the doctor. He's like, oh, help me strip these wires. And she stands there and he's like, what are you doing here? She's like, oh, I didn't want to leave you. And he's like, oh, thank you. And they just have a little look and Rose is in the background just death staring her. I was like, who's this bitch?
Yeah, Rose. Yeah, Rose doesn't like to share her toys.
No, she does not.
Yeah, so they say there's not enough evacuation shuttles. There's 100 people on floor 0, including Roderick, who's trying to get his money.
Yeah, he's literally screaming at, like, obviously the money window.
He's shouting at the man, and then when the man's trying to, like, calm everyone down because there's loads of people complaining, Roderick just turns around and just shouts into the microphone going, "Where's my money?"
Honestly, this man.
Yeah. So at this point, the doctor starts dismantling panels in the control room. He's got an enormous transmitter. He's going to build a delta wave that will essentially kill everything in the blast. He says, if you're very clever like me, should take about 3 days to build. He says, how long have I got? And the programmer says, about 22 minutes. So, yeah, he's running low on time. Jack is using the extrapolator to shield the top 6 levels of the station, meaning that the Daleks will have to enter at level 494 and work their way up, essentially.
Yeah.
Rose is helping the Doctor build the Delta Wave, while everyone else goes to floor 0 to look for volunteers, basically, to help fight off the Daleks.
And this is the little point I wanted to make earlier. So Linda goes to leave.
Yes.
And the Doctor goes to kiss her.
Yeah, he does, yeah.
He goes to kiss her. And I was like, my God. Like me just egging it on. Just like, go on, Doc.
Yeah.
And obviously Rose does not like this.
Yeah, she says, like, thanks for everything. Yeah, and then they're essentially saying goodbye, and yeah, the Doctor like goes to kiss her, but then kind of like thinks about everything and pulls back, and then just sticks out his hand, and they have a handshake.
Yeah, because like, he goes in and she goes in, and they kind of like both pull out, and just like, yeah, good luck. And I was just like, oh, and then again,
you were there just doing that, poking your fingers together, kiss.
Again, and just Rose's face, which is just
not having this.
She's just like.
Yeah,
she's like, I get abducted by the Daleks for like 10 minutes, and you found someone else.
Yeah, the Doctor does that.
He does do that. Yeah. That is a Doctor trait. Yeah.
Yeah. So after Linda leaves, like I say, Jack's gonna go down to the bottom to look for volunteers. He doesn't think he's gonna make it, so
he kisses Rose.
Yeah, he says goodbye to them.
He says he's like, you're worth fighting.
Yeah, he says you are worth fighting for, and he plants a big snog on her, and then he turns to the doctor and he says, wish I never met you, Doctor, I was much better off as a coward, and then gives him a big kiss as well, and he walks off. Rose is like, he's gonna be alright, isn't he? And the Doctor's like, I get that's noteworthy just for being the first ever gay kiss in Doctor Who. Obviously, I don't know, but throughout its original 26 seasons, never happened before. Did
it not happen in the TV?
What, the Paul McGann TV movie?
Yeah.
No?
Oh.
We watched that, Char, literally like 20 days ago.
I'm not going to lie. I don't remember.
We watched that literally like a few weeks ago.
I remember watching it and thinking, what is happening? Why is there some sort of ghost worm snake? I
read the book. I have context for that now.
I know, you did.
But we'll get into that when we eventually cover the TV movie.
Christ. Okay. That'll be an interesting episode.
Yeah. So on floor 0, like I say, Jack's gone down to look for volunteers. Basically says the Daleks are coming. They can only enter at this floor. As far as we're aware, they're going to go up, not down. But I can't guarantee anything, so just stay quiet.
Yeah.
Roderick's going, don't listen to him. There's no such thing as Daleks. They all died thousands of years ago.
Which... Typical Roderick.
Yeah.
Being a nuisance.
Such a little slime ball, isn't he?
He is, yeah.
Am I right in saying there's only one person, this one woman, who volunteers?
As far as I'm aware, yes, because the rest of them are guards.
Yeah. So we have one woman who volunteers, and Jack says thank you, and she's like, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, she does scream at him later, doesn't she?
Yes, but yeah, I think she's it for now.
I mean, to be fair, right, he does a terrible job because, I'm not going to lie, you'd go, okay, I will help. Let's fight this. And then he says, if you hear us all screaming and dying upstairs, then you know they're real. You'd be standing there then like, is that your plan?
Well, scream and die.
Scream and die? Is that what you think is going to happen? Like, I'd rather stay down here, actually.
Yeah. Well, Jack says, they should go up, not down. He basically wants them to stay quiet. But yeah, he says, if they do come down, just stay quiet, basically. But you might hear us dying upstairs. Top on floor 500, Rose asks, you have a time machine, can't we all just go back before this happened and warn them? The doctor says, no, I can't, because when the TARDIS lands, he'll become part of events. She says, yeah, I thought it'd be something like that.
And he's like, oh, we could go, though.
Yeah, he says, do you know what else the TARDIS could do? It could take us away. We could leave this place and go somewhere else. And she says, yeah, but you'd never do that. He says, yeah, but you could ask me. Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, but you never thought. You never even crossed your mind.
You never even thought about it, did you?
And she's like, yeah, I'm just too good.
Yeah. Which I love that little moment with them, that little interaction. It's that thing of they're kind of toying with the idea, but neither of them would ever
leave,
never do it. Yeah. So the doctor goes to check how long it'll take to charge the delta wave. And he essentially hangs his head. He looks disappointed. Rose says, how bad is it? And he all of a sudden perks up out of nowhere. He says, Rose Tyler, you're a genius. We can do it. He says, if I use the TARDIS to cross my own timeline, yes. And he, they both run inside the TARDIS, and he asks her to hold down a button. And he said he's going to pop back out I can't remember what he said he's going to do, but he's going to do something.
Just doing something on the console outside or something, isn't he?
And he runs out, and then we get this moment where he stops, and he turns around, and very defeatedly, he just points his sonic at the TARDIS and starts the console. And the TARDIS dematerializes with Rose inside. He sends her away to go back home. So Rose is, at this point, let's go with the console. She's banging on the door saying, let me out! But the door seemed to have locked. And at this point, a hologram of the Doctor pops up.
This is so sweet, this little hologram moment.
Yeah.
No.
So the hologram says, this is emergency program 1. He basically says that this is something that's been set in place if they're in danger and the Doctor's either dead or about to die any minute. He promised Rose's mum that he'd look after her, so he's sending her home. Emergency program 1 kicks in if they're facing an enemy that should never get their hands on the ship.
Yeah.
So he says, don't worry about the TARDIS, let it die. It'll just be an old thing standing on a street corner. People won't even notice it. He says, but you can do one thing for me, Rose, one thing only. Have a great life. Which is so sad. Yeah. And again, what I like about this is in the Christmas Invasion, obviously it's a 10th Doctor episode, but towards the end, once the threat's over and he's picking the wardrobe, he's picking his outfit, there's a song playing, it's called Song for 10. And it's one of the few original scores that actually have lyrics. Yeah. And one of the lyrics in the bridge says, do it for me, have a good life. Aww. So it's a nice little kind of reference to this. Yeah. In that. Yeah. How do you feel about the hologram standing there looking at the front door
and then turning
its head? I don't know what that's meant to mean. I don't know if that's meant to be the Doctor, when recording the hologram, just knew that she would move there. Or whether, I don't know. Because actually, do you know what I'm going to choose to believe is the fact that because the TARDIS is somewhat sentient, it's it
directs him, yeah.
Yeah, do you remember, I can't remember which one it is. It might be Let's Kill Hitler or something. It's one of the Moffat episodes where the TARDIS has an interface and is communicating with the Doctor, and it takes the shape of young Amy Pond. Because it says it's taking the shape that he finds most calming, most comforting or something. So I wonder if that's actually like the Doctor recorded the message, but the turning of the head is actually the TARDIS.
Maybe.
I'm going with that because that doesn't hurt my brain.
Yeah, I think it's quite funny. He's like, I know you're whinging and fretting right now. But
Yeah, typical.
typical.
Yeah. So yeah, he sends her home,
Which is just so sweet.
Yeah, and I tell you something else I love about this episode is the editing, right? Because during this whole sequence, you have this really sad, like, goodbye moment, and the music's building up, and then you get the shot of the TARDIS, like, whizzing around through the vortex. It's so fast-paced. It's like, you get the impression that the stuff with Jack finding the volunteers, the stuff with the Doctor and the Delta Wave, and this stuff with Rose, it's all happening at the same time, but the editing is so quick. But it doesn't feel jarring. It just feels like you're there in the moment and everything's happening very quickly.
Yeah, I didn't think about that, but yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. So the TARDIS lands back home, back in the Powell estate of London. She's messing with the console, trying to get it to work again, but nothing's happening. So she leaves the TARDIS and just kind of leans against the side, and that's when we see Mickey.
I literally put, poor Mickey has come running again.
Yep.
He said he always would.
And he did.
And he did.
Yeah. He said, I knew it. I was somewhere or other, and I heard the engines. I only know one thing that makes a noise like that. He says, what's wrong? And she starts, like, crying, and he immediately goes in for a hug and hugs her. Yeah, which is funny, isn't it? Because obviously last time we saw Mickey was the end of Boomtown, and
I was egging on his villain arc.
Yeah, yes, you were. Sorry, and we got the impression that they weren't on the best of terms.
No,
but I'm not sure how much time has passed for Mickey since then. But he's over it.
What if she landed technically before Boomtown? Because we don't know when she's landed.
You're having your high thoughts again.
I'm not. I'm having my Doctor Who thoughts. Thank you very much. They are the same. But yeah, she could have.
I mean, well...
You technically
Well, that's why Mickey's so angry in Boomtown. He's like, I helped you get back to him. When he's like, it's always about the Doctor, it's never about me.
Yeah, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you in a minute, but carry on, yeah.
So Jack, who's obviously on floor 0, contacts floor 500. He asks Rose to get something. I can't remember what. And the Doctor says, she's not here. And he says, what a time to take a leak. And she says, no, she's not here. I sent her home. Jack asks if the Delta Wave will be ready, and this is when the Dalek Emperor chimes in, and he kind of like breaks into the comms and basically says, hey, even if it is, it will kill the Earth too. Because the Delta Wave might well be ready in time, but there's no way you can refine it. So the range will just cover everything, including the Earth. The Doctor says, though, that there are colonies of humanity around. The human race can still survive, while I have a chance now to wipe out the Daleks, which are a threat to everything. But he says to Jack, what should I do? And I just think that's interesting, because you very rarely get the Doctor asking what he should do. He normally feels like he knows what he should do and does it, even if he regrets it later. Do you know what I mean? It's very rarely the Doctor says, what do you think I should do? I
think it's interesting because, like you said, the Doctor very rarely does this. He only does this to make a point, usually.
Yeah, you're thinking like kill the moon or something.
Like kill the moon, or there's a couple. Do you mean where he leaves the choice up to the companion? But I think he doesn't see Jack as a companion. I think he not sees him as an equal, but I think obviously because Jack has that, history with time and space and time travel.
Yeah, he's more aware of the stakes than everyone else.
Yeah, so I think he's
because like to everyone who's native there, like the programmers, this is their world.
Yeah, but that's not the case with Jack.
I know what you mean. For Jack, it's like this is a snapshot
of time.
Of time.
So of course, all the people there would go, "No, don't do it." But I think he thinks
he can see the bigger picture, can't he?
Yeah, he's more likely to have like an honest answer, and I think generally he wouldn't have himself be that vulnerable with a companion.
That's an interesting point. Yeah, you think if Rose was there, he probably wouldn't have asked.
He wouldn't have asked because he wouldn't have wanted to put that on her shoulders, and he wouldn't have wanted to see like unsure.
Do you think he still would have asked Jack if Rose was there?
No, I don't think so. I think he would have just made the decision. But the fact that she's gone,
I love it when the Doctor gets to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
I don't need him traumatized all the time. I don't always need him grieving over the loss of his people. I just like to see him be more vulnerable and not have to be always right. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I don't know, maybe that isn't the idea of the writing, but that's how I see it personally.
No, it's a good take. I like
it. Sees him closer to an equal.
Yeah. He asked Jack, what should I do? And Jack says, keep working. And the Emperor says, like, you will all be exterminated. And Jack says, never doubted him, never will.
Yeah.
So the Doctor asks how the Emperor scattered bad wolf through history. And the Emperor says, this was not part of my design. And then we get this really like ominous music sting, and the Doctor's like, "Oh, what does that mean?"
And then we cut back to a chip shop where Rose and Mickey and Jackie are sitting eating fish and chips.
Yeah, and they basically tell Rose to move on.
Well, I love how I've written here the fact that Rose is obviously sitting there distraught.
Yeah.
And Mickey and Jackie are just talking about pizza.
They're talking about a takeaway that opened up, isn't it?
Great pizza shop. Do they deliver? Yeah.
Yeah, because Mickey says, a new pizza place opened up. And Jackie goes, what do they sell? And he goes, pizza. And she goes, oh, that's nice. Do they deliver? Yeah.
It's just the
most monotonous conversation, yeah. But yeah, they're trying to get Rose to move on. Jackie's saying, God knows I've hated that man, but right now I love him because he did the right thing. He sent you back to me.
Yeah.
And she's basically saying she can't stay here because the Doctor showed her a better way of living life. It wasn't just the travelling, it was about standing up for what's right, making a stand, and all that stuff. Which makes me laugh because she says, he taught me not to run away, and then she gets up and runs away.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she leaves the cafe.
She runs to a park.
Yeah, she sits on like a park bench. Mickey goes over to try and like comfort her.
And again, this is why I think it's before.
Before what?
Before Boomtown.
Right.
It's not, but I'm going to make a theory that it is.
Okay.
And I know it's going to be picked apart completely, but that's fine.
Yeah, go on, hit me.
So Mickey says, he says about trying to move on, and she's kind of like, yeah, I guess I should maybe I should just move on. And he's like, you could just stay here and have a normal life. And he's like with me, or like the life I could give you.
Yeah.
And as he's saying this, she looks over at Bad Wolf, and she's like, what's that? And he's literally like trying to be like,
yeah, he's being vulnerable.
Come back to me.
Yeah.
I'll take care of you and I'll love you. And she's
I'll bin off Trisha Delaney.
Well, Trisha may not have been a thing yet.
Yeah.
And she just runs over to these. Well, I don't know how she missed it.
Yeah, it's everywhere and massive.
It is. I'm on about the main massive one in the. But still.
Yeah, so she notices Bad Wolf is written on the floor in like chalk, and it's also written like 1,000,000 times over all the surrounding walls.
Yeah.
And she says it's a message: Bad Wolf here, Bad Wolf there. And Mickey's.
He's like, oh well, it's always been there.
Yeah, it's always there. It doesn't mean anything. It's just words. And Rose's like, no, there's something connecting us. There's something trying to give me a way back, basically. So they go to the TARDIS, and this is when she's explaining to Mickey that it's telepathic, and she kind of gives him the recap of Boomtown with the heart of the TARDIS.
Yeah.
She says it gets into your mind. We just need it to basically do a reverse trip, go back to where it came from.
Yeah.
But to do that, they need to open the console. So they chain it up to the back of Mickey's Mini. He's got a little Mr. Bean car. He's got a little front wheel drive little Mini.
Again, two things I have to say about this scene. This is my final thing about why I think this is before Boomtown.
Right.
Mickey says to Rose, going back there, you could die. And she says, it's a risk I'll take. There's nothing left for me here.
Brutal.
And he says, what, nothing? And she said, no. And that's why I think That's why I think, because then later on, she's like, oh, I'm back. Can I have my passport?
Either way, it's bleak.
Fucking brutal. There's nothing.
Savage.
There's nothing left for me here. What? Your boyfriend and your mother.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Nothing left.
And she's so
Ouch.
quick, because when Mickey goes, what, nothing? She's so quick to just go, no.
It's so cold.
She doesn't think about it.
No. So brutal. Like, damn. But yeah, anyway, back to the Mini.
Yeah,
this is what made me laugh. They seriously think a Mini, a tiny little old Mini, is going to pull the panel off the TARDIS.
This is getting into like kind of like nerdy car talk, but I'm like, I do wonder if he would have had a better chance picking something that was a rear wheel drive.
Or didn't weigh as much as a dustbin.
Yeah. Yeah, this Mini's just spinning its wheels, just burning rubber, and eventually the chain breaks. So back on the game station at floor 495, 3 Daleks have popped up, and the android comes out.
Yeah.
You are the weakest link.
Goodbye.
And just goes, and just like... Yeah, it just takes them all out, and Jack goes, yeah! And then another Dalek comes in and just blows it up, which is a bit sad.
Oh no, they killed the android.
Thing is, they didn't even, like, the android didn't even kill the Dalek, they just sent them back to the ship.
Actually, that's one thing I did have a question about. It transported Rose.
Yes.
Where did the pile of dust come from?
I assume that's just, like, leftover matter. Like, it didn't turn her to dust, but I'm assuming that's just, like, I don't know, just the effect.
Do you think...
Because it creates energy, doesn't it? So it's probably just, like, I don't know, heat waste or something like that.
I'd rather just say that there's 2 transmat beams and they've got a room full of dust.
Okay.
So that
Do you know what?
It puts the dust in place so people think it's that you're dead.
I've just now thought of a better plan, right? Instead of this whole thing with the Delta Wave and coming up with like volunteers to fight the Daleks off, they should all get in a room with the android, and as soon as the Daleks start to board, get the android to zap them and get them all back into the Dalek ship, and then just steal the Dalek ship and fly away.
Yeah, but what about Earth?
Oh, yeah, good point. Good point.
My question is also this. You know when the doctor's, like, when Rose has died?
Yeah.
And he's, like, feeling around in the ashes. Do you think he knows?
Knows what?
Do you think he's like, this ain't human remains?
No.
Or is he like...
Because otherwise his grief doesn't make much sense.
Maybe he's just confused. It's like, what is this?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Daleks are boarding the game station, and unexpectedly they start travelling down.
Oh, no. Well, Linda with a Y says they're flying up the ventilation shaft.
You immediately tied that to Star Wars, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah.
I wonder if it was.
No.
Oh.
Almost certainly not.
Oh. And then
Otherwise she would have said it in a racist accent.
I was going to say, well, they wouldn't do that, but I don't know. Maybe they would in this time. But and then she says, "Oh wait, no, they're not. They're going down."
Yeah. Which begs the question, why? Because I think that's the thing. You assume Daleks are logical, Daleks are calculated. They're going to go in and they're going to go up to where the Doctor is in the Delta Wave. But no, they choose to go down to where they know that there are unarmed civilians just so they can do some racial cleansing.
I mean, that is their thing.
It is their thing, not the priority.
No,
but,
I mean, some may have gone up.
Well, they did, didn't they? But that's it. I don't think anyone expected them to go down.
No.
But yeah, they go down and essentially just kill everybody, including Roderick.
Again, what do you shout when they come in?
You're not real.
He said, "You can't. You don't exist.
You can't do this to me. I won the game."
It's like, God, you'd be like, shoot him first, please.
Yeah. So back in the TARDIS on Earth, Jackie is trying to persuade Rose to give up again.
Yeah, and this scene is so good, and I love the fact that it comes around again. The fact that obviously Rose had never told Jackie that
About the events of Father's Day.
About the events of Father's Day.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that it comes to play here.
Yeah. So Jackie's trying to get her to give up, and Rose basically says that Dad wouldn't tell me to give up. He'd tell me to try anything. And she says, no, he wouldn't. And she says, yeah, he would. I know because I met him. And Jackie says something like, oh, don't talk rubbish.
And then she says about the girl.
Yeah,
that
but
was
Rose
with him.
says, yeah, you remember when you told me about Dad, there was a blonde girl that was there with him when he died. She held his hand. You saw her from a distance. That was me. And, yeah, Jackie's very shaken. She just says, stop it, and she just runs away.
But it's like, it's so good. It's so emotional and so...
Yeah.
That thing of
and
like...
This is what I mean when I talk about I love how cohesive Series 1 is.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I love how it is a Monster of the Week format, but it's also like... It doesn't just like... In later series, you can pluck Monster of the Week episodes out and pop them into any other series. Do you know what I mean? So, like, you can take, say, the Shakespeare Code. You could take that out of Series 3 and pop it into Series 4.
Yeah.
And other than the fact that it's Martha instead of Donna, do you know what I mean? The episodes are just, do you know what I mean? They're very interchangeable. But, like, yeah, in Series 1, everything is important for this finale. Not only does every episode set something up, but everything, I don't know, it just feels like such a natural conclusion. You feel like the characters have changed since the beginning of the series.
Yeah.
And not just because, like Series 3 is like, Martha's kind of different in the end, but that's just because, oh, she spent time with the Doctor and now she's more confident, I guess. Where, like, Rose and the Doctor and Jackie and Mickey and Jack, everyone is different from when they were introduced. And it's not just because the Doctor's so great, he's changed their lives. It's like they all changed through each other.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Jackie changed because of Mickey. And I just love that. And yeah, this whole sequence with Rose and Jackie talking about Pete, and Jackie basically saying, oh no, he wouldn't, he'd tell you the same thing, and Rose says, no, I met him, I know what he's like. And arguably you could say that Rose maybe knew him a little better than Jackie did.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because I don't know, because their relationship was a little rocky. I think Pete always had his guard up where he was so open to Rose. I don't know, but yeah, I agree with you. I love that scene. So back in the 22nd century, Daleks have started to bomb the Earth. The Emperor claims he has created heaven on Earth. Up on floor 499, one floor down from the Doctor, Jack is organising the last stand against the Daleks. He tells the defenders to aim fire on the Dalek eye stalks. He says, your bullets have like bastic bullets, I think he says. So you should be able to get through. Yeah, so we have that one survivor that we saw earlier in the corridor shooting, and but nothing happens.
Yeah.
And she reaches onto the comm and she says, like, you lied to me, or you lied to us, or something like that, and they all get killed. Sad.
To be fair, she would have died either way.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and then we have the other group of survivors, including the programmers from earlier. When they're firing at the Daleks, one of them actually manages to get the eyepiece. He says, my vision is impaired.
Elaine does.
Stop calling her Elaine.
We haven't got a name for her, so I'm naming her. Elaine with her gun, she does.
Yeah.
She's got good aim.
Yeah, so she gets it and she's like, cheers, and she goes like, yeah, I got it, and then the Dalek just kills her immediately. And then the male programmer goes, no, and starts firing over the fence.
Yeah, because they have that little bit of thing. He's like, the only reason I'm here is because of you. And he's like, oh, if we get through this, fancy going on a date? And she's like, no. And then she like winks at him.
Yeah. Yeah, but long story short, the Daleks just killed them all.
Yeah, except Jack.
Jack's just backing off and he's like firing at them with his submachine gun. Linda's giving the Doctor updates, basically saying she's the one that tells him that the Daleks have started bombing.
Yes.
Yeah, and she says the Daleks have now found her. The Doctor says, you should be safe in that room, and she's like, should be.
She says, you know what they say about Earth workmanship.
Yeah. So the Daleks try to enter the room. One of them's got his little plunger on the panel thing and is trying to get past the combinations. And then the Salt Dalek shows up with like a flamethrower arm that starts trying to melt down the door. They don't get it though.
No.
What does get it, Linda backs away from the door and she turns around to see 3 Daleks outside,
Which
on the other side of the glass. And this might be my favourite kill.
This is so cool. You don't hear him, but the little flashy...
You know what it's saying.
Exterminates.
Yeah. It's dead silent. You don't hear any audio, but you see the lights flash up, and based on the amount of flashes, you know what he's saying.
Worst death as well.
Yeah.
That's a worse death than extermination.
Yeah,
My
so the
God.
Dalek shoots the glass.
And she just gets sucked
out
into
into the
space.
vacuum of space.
Shit. Poor
And
Linda.
then we immediately cut to
Doctor.
Jack, because Jack's backing off, shooting down the tunnel, and he says, "Last man standing." I'm like, God, Jack.
Yeah, and Doctor's like, Linda?
Yeah.
He hears her scream, doesn't
Yeah,
he?
he hears the scream, and he like pulls like the headphones off, I think. But
Again,
yeah, I'm sad. Linda was nice.
I know.
She was sweet.
Can we find a way to bring back Linda?
Oh, that would be a niche fucking...
That would be so niche.
Imagine if they brought back Linda with a Y. Oh, God. So yeah, back home in the 21st century, Rose finally considers giving up, but Mickey's not having it.
No. He's like, I'm not having you give up at this point.
Yeah, he's grown, isn't he?
Yeah, well, I guess, again, that thing of like, he's thinking, well,
She said there's nothing for her here.
nah, she doesn't want to be here. All she cares about the Doctor so much. I'm not going to have her be so defeated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he says, I think it's a good plan. We just need something stronger than my car, something bigger, something like that. And then
Jackie to the rescue.
Jackie pulls up in a massive, like, heavy-duty recovery vehicle.
Yeah.
She pops out. Rose says, like, where'd you get this from? She goes, Rodrigo, he owes me a favour.
Don't
ask why. She says, you got this till 6. But yeah, she says to Rose that she's right. This is exactly the kind of thing that Pete would do.
Yeah.
Exactly
Which is
kind of one of
true.
the harebrained schemes he would come up with. So yeah, now they're just trying it again. They've tied a chain to the TARDIS console and the other end to the back of this truck. Mickey's just putting his foot down and finally manages to break it open. So at this point, Mickey and Jackie tried to go in the TARDIS, but the doors just slam shut, and the vortex starts pouring out of the TARDIS and goes straight into Rose's eyes.
Well, she looks straight
Well, yeah,
into
she
it.
looks into it, but it's interesting because this didn't happen to Blonde.
No.
Blonde just kind of looked at the light.
But do you think that was because the TARDIS was, like, it was weak? Because it was...
Maybe. Or
Being-
maybe, again, the TARDIS is telepathic. Maybe the TARDIS knows what Rose is trying to do, so it's
Yeah.
helping her out. Don't know. But yeah, the vortex starts pouring from the heart of the TARDIS into Rose's eyes, and then the TARDIS starts to dematerialize. And again, like I was saying earlier about how fast-paced that editing is, during this, the music's going, and you get that shot of her there with the stuff flowing into her eyes, and then you cut to the TARDIS like bouncing around the vortex, and then all the Daleks are now like converging in on the Doctor.
Well,
They're
Jack.
enclosing in on Jack, sorry. And
He's shooting them with everything.
yeah, he runs out of ammo in his SMG, throws it aside, he pulls out a pistol, and he empties that as well. And yeah, and then the Daleks go, exterminate, and he goes, kind of figured that. And they kill him dead.
And he just, like we said earlier, just is flung against the wall.
Yeah, he gets hit by the Dalek laser, and yeah, he gets knocked like 3 feet backwards and hits the wall. And again, I remember watching this the first time and being like, oh my God, everyone is dead. I remember being like, I did not expect them to kill Jack.
Well, the worst thing is only 2 episodes ago, the Doctor's like, for once, everyone lives.
Yeah, now we get, everybody dies.
Everybody dies.
Yeah, and that's the thing with this story. With the exception of the fact that, obviously, technically the Doctor regenerates and Jack is brought back, everyone in this story dies except Rose.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody dies.
Yeah. Except,
Including the
Jackie.
Daleks.
Yeah, except Jackie and Mickey, I guess.
Yeah.
But, like, yeah, everyone on the game station except Rose dies.
Including the android.
Yeah, including the android. Yeah, but that's the thing. If you ignore the fact that Jack is brought back, like even the Doctor technically dies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
True.
So, yeah, Jack gets exterminated, and the Daleks now start enclosing the Doctor. Pretty much bang on time as he finishes the Delta Wave. So the Doctor says, "Stay back, I'll do it." And the the Emperor basically dares him to do it.
Yeah. He's like, I want to see you become like us. Or like
I deem you the great exterminator. Tell me, Doctor, are you coward or killer? And he's there with his hand on the button and he hesitates, but then he backs off and he says, coward, any day.
Which, I don't know how I feel about this. Because the whole of the Earth is going to die either way.
I know. I think this is him essentially. I think his motivation towards the beginning is obviously he wants to stop that from happening, but at this point he's like, I don't want to be responsible for it. It's that thing of, look, it's awful, but I don't want to kill anything anymore. Which,
I mean, yeah, he's already made that decision before, and I guess it's one of those things. He already made that decision to kill all the people, to kill the Daleks. Yeah. It didn't work.
And as far as he's concerned, yeah, it wasn't
worth it. Yeah. So he could do that. So
he's like, he might be dooming the human race, but at the same time, he's like, but it wasn't me.
Yeah.
And it's not even like, it's an avoiding responsibility thing. It's just he wants a clear conscience.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I kind of like it.
And they're like, oh, we're going to kill you. And he's like, maybe it's time.
Thing, the Doctor fully accepts his fate, doesn't he? Yeah. He's not trying to talk his way out of the situation. He doesn't have a plan up his sleeve. They say, the Doctor says, what's going to happen now? Am I going to become one of your angels? And the Emperor says that you are the heathen and you must be exterminated. And the Doctor basically says, maybe it's time. And he puts his arms down by his sides and essentially like closes his eyes and just waits for it to happen. Until... TARDIS a bit. I try to do a TARDIS, I sound like a pig.
Cleric beast.
It sounded like a pig squealing. Yeah, the TARDIS starts to appear, and the Doctor kind of like turns around and goes, "What?" And the doors fly open, and the light from the heart of the TARDIS flies out, and Rose is there in the middle.
Do you think he feels gutted at this point?
About what?
Do you think he's like, he kind of was at peace because he's like, I'm going to die now, but at least Rose is safe. And then he opens his eyes and she's there and he's like,
well, probably, because it's not like she's just brought herself back into danger, but it's like...
She's brought the TARDIS.
She's created a whole new problem.
Yeah. She brought the TARDIS and possibly put into the hands of the things he told her not to do.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, he immediately says, what the hell have you done?
Yeah.
And she says, I looked into the heart of the TARDIS and the TARDIS looked into me. The Doctor says, you've looked into the time vortex. No one's meant to see that. A Dalek tries to shoot her and she just like holds her hand up and just stops the laser blast. The Emperor calls her the Abomination. Rose basically says that she is the Bad Wolf. She scatters the words through time and space to lead herself to this point. So that's our payoff for Bad Wolf. I still think it's the best series mystery box.
I think it is pretty good, yeah. I think I probably agree. I'll have to watch it when we eventually finish everything. I'll let you know.
Oh, we're going to have to remember this conversation. Yeah, but I think I love the timey-wimey nature of it. I love how it's kind of a paradox, but also kind of not. Like, is the corporation just called the Bad Wolf Corporation and she happens to scatter those letters and that's why those words appear everywhere? Or is the Bad Wolf Corporation called the Bad Wolf Corporation because she sent the letters there? Because if it's that one, then it's a paradox. Do you know what I mean?
I'm thinking it was already called that.
Yeah, and she just happened to use it to lead herself there.
Yeah.
You think she could have chose something a bit less cryptic? She could have left her like a note.
What did she say? Didn't she say... No.
You could have left herself a voicemail or something. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. So the Emperor says, you cannot kill me, I'm immortal. Rose says, you are tiny.
Yeah. She's like, I see all of space and time, and you are tiny.
Yeah. I see your atoms, I divide them, and just basically, she like waves her hand and essentially disintegrates all of the Daleks, including the Emperor.
And the ship.
Yeah, and the Dalek ships, yeah, everything just gets melted. She also says, I bring life.
Yeah, and then
we get that shot of Jack going, and waking up, which... Yay, Jack's not dead, but at the same time, sorry, Jack, but you're about to experience the worst life.
Yeah. Yes.
You're not aware yet, but you've just experienced the single worst thing that is ever going to happen to you.
Yes. I do like the fact that the doctor's asked her, like, why you've come back and why you've done what you've done. And she says, I want you safe. That's it. She's like, you're my doctor, and I want my doctor safe.
Yeah.
Which is very sweet. And you could see, like, from her makeup, that there's like a tear, there's two, like, tear tracks.
Yeah.
That she's obviously been crying. And even when she's saying this, she's crying.
Yeah, she's crying, not just as an emotional build-up, but obviously the doctor says you're not supposed to have this in your head. She says it's basically burning her alive from the inside.
She says how, like, beautiful it is and why, you know, how could I not want this in my head? And then she slowly starts being like, ow.
Yeah. Yeah, he says, you know, you're going to burn and it's my fault. But yeah, she says, how can I give this up? She says, I can see time, but I can see everything that was, everything that will be. And the doctor basically says, that's what I see all the time. Doesn't it drive you mad? And she basically says, my head. And he says, I think you need a doctor.
Yeah.
And then he holds her and he gives her a kiss, which draws the energy of the vortex into his eyes and his mouth. And he basically just draws it like poison from a wound.
He pulls a Kirby.
That's not what I expected you to say. Yeah, what a weird image. Thanks for putting that in my head, yeah.
Someone change that scene so when we look back at the doctor, it's actually Kirby. Just
yeah. I find this part heartbreaking, and it's no dialogue, but it's after he draws the vortex from her, and Rose falls unconscious, and he
blows it back into the TARDIS.
Well, he lowers it down to the floor, and then he stands in front of the TARDIS and he like blows the energy back. And as the last of it goes in and the doors close, the doctor kind of like stumbles onto one leg.
He slumps a bit.
He slumps a bit, yeah, and that face he makes breaks my heart. I don't even know how to describe it, but it's like
he knows
his time's up.
Yeah,
he's kind of proud of Rose, but he's also a bit gutted that the time's been drawn to an end. He's happy and relieved that everything's over, but also knowing that it's about to end. And he doesn't know if he's going to have enough time to actually explain this.
Yeah,
just that look. Oh, it breaks my heart, man.
Yeah, well, he takes her and puts her into the TARDIS.
Yeah.
The door's shut and the TARDIS starts speeding away as Jack runs round the corner.
Yeah, Jack runs around the corner and the TARDIS dematerializes. And again, that face that Jack makes is gutting as well.
Yeah, because he's just stuck on this space station with no way off, as far as I'm aware. All the rescue pods have gone. I mean, I guess...
The only one alive there.
The only one alive there. The only thing he have is probably comms with Earth. That's about it.
For the places that haven't been bombed yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, what a bleak story.
Doctor Who, family show.
Yeah. So on board the TARDIS, Rose wakes up and she doesn't remember what happened.
No.
She says, there was light and I remember this singing. And the doctor says, yeah, that's right. I sang a song and the Daleks ran away. Yeah, and he looks down and he notices this small, like, little ripple of energy across the back of his hand. Which
is interesting, because let me know if I'm wrong. I know you haven't seen, like, the newer parts of Doctor Who, but people who watch this for the first time might not have known that was regeneration. Because...
I'll get to this in a minute, because there is a little bit of trivia to go with. Well, it's kind of trivia and also maybe a little bit of speculation, but I'll talk about that once we wrap up.
Right.
But yeah. So sorry, my notes have just scrolled all the way back to the top for some reason. So he notices this kind of like bit of ripple on the back of his hand. And he says, Rose Tyler, I was going to take you so many places, like Barcelona. Not the city Barcelona, the planet Barcelona. They've got dogs with no noses. It doesn't matter how many times you tell that joke, it's still funny.
He says about it.
Rose doesn't understand what's happening.
She's like, what are you talking about?
She says, you're not making sense. He says, I might never make sense again.
Or at least not in this body.
Yeah. And then he kind of like stumbles back. He gets that kind of like burst of energy. And she runs towards him, but he says, no, stay away. She says, what's wrong? He says, I absorbed the energy of the time vortex and no one's meant to do that. I find this interesting because he didn't tell her that it was her. Yeah. He didn't say, you absorbed the time vortex and I had to take it out of you to save you. He just tells her that he did it. I guess
you would say that anyway.
I guess, yeah. But I just find it interesting. Like, I know it wouldn't be it wouldn't really be appropriate to be like, this is kind of your fault. But I don't know. I just think I see it as his kind of like final act of kindness. So basically, don't give her the guilt of thinking that she did this to him. Yeah.
And he said it's a bit of a dodgy process.
Yeah, he says it's a dodgy process. She says, can't you... He says, every cell in my body's dying. And she says, can't you do anything? And he says, yeah, I am. I'm doing it now. Time Lords have this little trick that allows them to cheat death. But it's a dodgy process, this. It means I'm going to change. And I'm not going to see you again. At least not with this face.
So you never know what you're going to end up with either.
Yeah.
Well, he said, you're not going to see you again. Or he said, at least with
this daft old face.
This daft old face, which he's still trying to keep it like lighthearted, and
yeah,
I think it's just so sweet how he just reassures her. Like he doesn't. I mean, it's so different to 10. I know that's the point. Yeah, but he's just so caring.
And this is one of the reasons why 9's regeneration is one of my favourites. Because I think he doesn't have this massive like grand epic speech like Matt Smith or Peter Capaldi did, but there's something so, I don't know, everything about this scene just screams the Doctor. Do you know what I mean? Everything he should be is right here. Yeah. And yeah, I love that. And again, it is a bit sad because he says, there's so many places I was going to take you. And it's like, he knows he will. But obviously, that whole thing that I know it's technically David Tennant that says this towards the end of his run, but he says, regeneration as a process is kind of like dying and then some new man sauntering away with your memories. Yeah. And that's essentially what he's doing here. Do you know what I mean? He's not making it that much of an ego thing, but he's basically saying, there were so many places I was going to take you. Yeah. And
that he wanted to take you.
Yeah, so many places I wanted to take you, and now we can't. Well, maybe we will. But not like this. Yeah. Yeah. And he says to her, before I go, she says, don't say that. And he says, no, listen, before I go, I just want to tell you, you were fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And you know what? So was I. And she kind of like gives him a smile. And he explodes and begins his regeneration process.
Which is really quick.
Yeah. I mean, do you mean like how I'm not sure if you mean how quick it was that the just explosion happened, because it seems to happen very quickly. There's no big like swell of music or anything, or whether you mean the actual, once he starts, the change happens quick.
Both. I think it's not as quick as Matt Smith's. Do you mean? No. He sneezed, like, very different.
The thing is, I think my in-law explanation for this is that the Doctors who have the longer regenerations try to hold it off. They're the incarnations that don't accept it immediately and hold it off for a little bit. So then there's this big, I don't know, thing that goes along with it.
It's like a hold up of energy.
Yeah, because 9 just kind of accepts it.
Yeah, again, the energy's kind of being lost through his hand already. Do you know what I mean?
I love this regeneration because, like, the effect itself, like the kind of explosion, flame, fire effect, is a little bit dated. But the effect, when you get that above shot of the face and you see his, like, nose kind of thin out a little bit, and then you see the hair, like, go from, like, buzzed to go, and it kind of, like, flows out and just grows. I think that's great. I think that still holds up.
I think it holds up too.
Yeah, but then he regenerates and it's David Tennant.
And he goes, "Where was I? Ah, yes, Barcelona."
Yeah, first he says, new teeth. That's weird. Yes, where was I? Oh, that's right, Barcelona. And that's it. And that's the end of the episode. Say goodbye to the Ninth Doctor, Christopher Eccleston, and hello to seemingly everybody's favourite, 10th Doctor, David Tennant. Yeah, and that's the end of Bad Wolf Parting of the Ways. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
I think it's...
So you said you come around on it a little more. You liked it more than the last time. And you enjoy part 2 more than part 1, which I do as well. Do you have any thoughts beyond that?
So many thoughts, so difficult to put to words.
It's quite dense, isn't it? Quite a lot. There's quite a lot to take in with this story because the plot itself isn't that complicated, but it's just there's so many character moments, so many things to pick apart.
I'm gonna say, I honestly think this is the most on the fence I am about any Doctor Who episode.
Really?
Yeah. Like, I physically cannot decide how I feel about it.
Is that because you can't decide how you feel about the story in general, or is that because you like Parting of the Ways and you dislike Bad Wolf?
Kind of. Both. I think...
Where does your dislike of Bad Wolf come from? Is it just because of the game shows being a bit dated?
I think so. I don't
know. Once you get the game shows out of the way, once you get like the bit where Weakest Link's done now and Rose gets disintegrated, do you think it picks up after that?
A little bit, yeah. I think the main thing is you tell me how you feel and I'll try and think.
Okay, right. So I agree with you. I think Parting of the Ways is better than Bad Wolf. I love them both very dearly. I would say Parting of the Ways is one of the few perfect Doctor Who episodes. I don't think there's anything wrong with this episode, with the finale. I think it's bang on perfect, everything it needs to be. I love it. Bad Wolf is not as perfect, but I still like it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, the game show being dated thing doesn't bother me. I was going to say as much as it bothers you. It doesn't really bother me at all, if I'm honest. I think you may be right. The way to make it maybe a little less dated would be to either create some original shows or maybe pull something from earlier in history, just so they're not all like 2000s game shows. But yeah, I think Roderick, as slimy and gross as he is, I think he's a fun little nasty side character. I love the android. I love the gags, Trini and Suzanne. Linda with a Y, I like a lot. Dalek Emperor, he's got a cool like deep voice and everything, and his design is cool, but as a character he's just kind of another Dalek. There's nothing really that unique about him. Yeah, I like, even though we see them very briefly, I do like the bits we get with Mickey and Jackie. Rose is developed a fair bit in this story, I think, and my favourite, good old Ninth Doctor, everything I love about this incarnation of the Doctor is in this story.
I've thought through my process.
Okay.
So, I think why I'm so on the fence about this, and this is over the 2 episodes, is I think the interactions and the relationships with people, some are a bit rubbish, but generally between the Doctor, Rose, Mickey, Jackie, Jack, Linda, I think are perfect.
Yeah.
I think they're brilliant. Very well done. It really brings, you really feel the emotions. I agree with the editing. It's like perfectly paced.
Yeah.
It makes you feel like a lot is happening and you feel kind of rushed.
Yeah.
But that's what you want because it keeps the tension up. I don't like the Daleks because I don't think they're that intimidating. And I think that the Emperor Dalek is naff. pretty much. I like some ideas of it, but I think it's...
I don't think he's naff. I just think he's not really distinguishable from any other Dalek.
Exactly. For me, I assumed that he was in Old Who, and that was a grand reveal. But
right.
if he isn't, what is his point?
To my knowledge, he's not. The thing with the Dalek hierarchy is a bit weird because you have like throughout Classic Who and the new series, I mean, you have like the Emperor Dalek, you've obviously got Davros, then you have like the Supreme Dalek, then you've got like the General Dalek, then you've got like Commander Dalek, and I don't know what the hierarchy is. Is the Emperor higher than the Supreme Dalek? I don't know. I'm like,
but it's like...
We meet the Cult of Skaro like next season. What's their hierarchy? Are they higher than the Emperor? I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
This is my issue with it all. It's... I think if you compare Dalek, which I think is perfect, like the perfect Dalek story.
Yeah.
But if you compare Dalek, once that reveal is given for people who've watched Old Who, they're like, oh my God, it's a Dalek. But then the episode does enough to make you feel scared. If you don't have that history with a Dalek, it makes you feel scared, so that by the end of it, you probably feel the same kind of, oh God,
I know what you mean.
Old Who do.
My only counter to that is I don't think most people that watch Classic Who were scared by the reveal of the Dalek because...
Daleks were rubbish back then.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
know,
obviously
I've
back
seen
in like
some.
Dalek Mania, back in like the 60s, do you know what I mean? They were scary, but by the time the show was cancelled, by the time you get to like the Colin Baker, Sylvester McCoy era, they were kind of a laughing stock.
Yeah.
I mean, you had Ace just whacking one with a baseball bat in remembrance of the Daleks, do you know what I mean?
So we've kind of come full circle with the Dalek thing.
Yeah,
then.
it's kind
just,
of.
We've repeated history.
Yeah.
Again, I feel like... I think having 200 ships with 2,000 Daleks on each one removes how I feel about it. Do you mean the Daleks are bombing Earth?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you mean they're not going down there and doing the work themselves? They're just bombing it from afar. Do you mean like they're not overrunning this place with Daleks? They're sending a couple. So the stakes don't feel that big in that sense. I don't know. And then you have this Emperor Dalek, which doesn't do anything more than the other Daleks does.
I disagree with you about the stakes. I feel like the Daleks, like I say, they're not as intimidating. They're not as, they don't provide as much of an onslaught as the one from Dalek did. But I think that their gravitas and their presence is still there. I still think they come across as a big threat, especially because the Doctor didn't really manage to do anything to get rid of them. It's something that had to be done by Rose, and if Rose hadn't come back as the Bad Wolf entity, everyone, including the Doctor, would be dead. I think that's there, but I do agree with you that the Emperor Dalek is a bit...
useless.
Nothing. Like, he's like... I like... The voice is cool, and the concept of him... falling through time and essentially building all this up himself. And like you said earlier, his plan is cool about like,
I like that.
Sitting there and scheming and using humans to rebuild this army is cool. But yeah, in terms of what he does in the Parting of the Ways,
he does nothing.
He doesn't really do anything that any other Dalek does. He can't even exterminate. He hasn't got a gun.
No, he literally does nothing. He says he's a god, but he has no abilities.
He's a Dalek with a god complex.
Yeah, he has no abilities. He's nothing.
Yeah.
But I think, again, I do wonder why you find them intimidating, because you, again, going back to Dalek...
Okay, maybe intimidating's not the word, but...
That's what I mean. I feel like they're completely worlds apart. For me, they feel like a different character, a different species.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe intimidating's not the right word, but I think I was closer when I said that this story keeps their gravitas. It keeps their... not mystique, what's the word? The legacy and the reputation of Daleks. If you come into this after having watched Dalek and you remember how much chaos that one caused, I think even though we don't see as much like physical slaughtering as we did in that episode, I think when you get that reveal of seeing thousands of them, there is like a oh my god moment.
Yeah.
And especially because once they board the ship, they kill everybody. Do you know what I mean? It's not as if it's like, if that was a Modern Who episode, do you know what I mean? They'd be like, they'd kill everybody, but a few Daleks would be destroyed, because there'd be moments where someone, like, I don't know, fired a rocket or something, and a few of them would get blown up. Or someone would, like, I don't know, make a trapdoor, and like a Dalek would fall through a floor or something, where, like, until Rose arrives, the only Dalek that gets touched is that one who gets its vision impaired.
Yeah, but it takes too long.
For what?
For them to do the damage. It takes too long. Again, you look at how manipulative that one Dalek was. Again, these Daleks seem, and I know the whole point is that they've gone mad, but they seem stupid. They seem dumb.
What makes you say that?
Well, again, they take their time before they shoot. But it's not like they're taking time because they're planning or they're rubbing it in. They just kind of sit there and have something fire at them and then they shoot at them. Do you mean? I feel like it would feel worse if, obviously, 3 Daleks go down onto the floor with all the civilians. Mm-hmm. Feel worse if one went down and instantly found a way to kill them all.
You mean like in Dalek when it like shoots the sprinklers?
Yeah.
Like if it did something like that?
Yeah, because it's like, we don't need to send 3 down, we send 1. And if there was a thing of like, you know, there's like, what, 500 floors? If there was a thing of like, a Dalek has been sent down to every floor to make sure everything's cleansed, that would feel more severe. You'd think, oh my god, they don't care.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Whereas like, it's like, oh, 3 have been sent here, 3 have been sent here, and eventually they all merge for the Doctor.
Yeah.
It's like, you have,
I hadn't thought
like
of it.
4 million outside. Why don't you bomb the place? Why don't you shut down this whole thing? They're bombing the Earth. Why don't they bomb the satellite and they would take out the Doctor?
They can't bomb the satellite because Jax used the extrapolator to put a shield around it.
I guess, but
I know what you mean, though, because it's like, I hadn't really thought about it before, and I think I don't know, my opinion still stands. I still feel the same way, but I do know what you mean. I do kind of agree that it would have been maybe more effective if there was one in that scene and there's a line that, like, say, Linda says when she's watching the monitor to say, it looks like they're spreading, or they're splitting up, sorry, and they're sending, like, 1 to each floor.
yeah.
And one's just doing a sweep.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, if that happened, there was like a throwaway line to explain that, then yeah, I would agree. I think that feels a little more unsettling.
It's that they don't care. They're making sure they haven't missed anyone. Again, it's that thing of like, do you mean? They take their time to shoot Jack. I know that's the whole point. Do you mean you want to give him a little bit of...
The Daleks do have a habit of kind of like playing with their food, though.
I know, but I don't know. I just feel like...
Then Daleks aren't logical. Like, Cybermen are logical. Do you know what I mean? Cybermen don't have emotion. So Cybermen just process things in black and white, where Daleks, I don't know.
But that's what I liked about the Dalek in Dalek. It had that. It had that thought process of, and it wasn't toying with the humans, it was toying with the Doctor. Do you know what I mean? So, and he is still there. He's still on the comms. He's listening in. They could do that. To have everybody killed pretty quickly, that would be a huge thing. But oh my god, they've all gone instantly. Do you know what I mean? There was nothing. They would never have been a chance.
Yeah.
And then to have Rose come in and then save it, it would be like, okay, well that really was the last option. Do you know what I mean? But I think because it took more time. Also, I think away from that, I think the fact that we've been on a spaceship in space quite a few times this series.
Yeah.
I'm wanting something a bit fresh, and I know that's the whole point because obviously we have...
I mean, it's the same place, isn't it?
It is the same place, that's the whole point. But I think...
Yeah, with like Platform 1 as well in End of the World.
Yeah. Or it would have been cool to have seen... Do you mean? Like, I don't know. Seen the original floor they landed on. You know, where it was like the food carts and people, to see how, because other than the Doctor saying, oh, this is, you know, Platform 5.
Yeah.
That it is, there's nothing else that links it, so it's just another spaceship, really.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
So I think, other than that, I think that's probably the main gripes, other than like the TV shows which are a bit meh. But generally, I think, Jimmy, I think the ending.
I think there's a lot more to like about this episode than there is to dislike.
I think so. Again, my thing is I like the Doctor. I like the ending. I like the companions. I don't necessarily like the fact. I don't like the actual story, as in like what has brought them here and what's going on and why it's bad.
See, that's really interesting because this is one of my favourite episodes of the whole show.
I know.
Parting of the Ways.
I know it is.
Yeah.
But I think that's why I'm so on the fence, because of those reasons.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
But yeah. Do you have anything else to say on how you feel about this episode, or
no? I feel like I mean, we obviously go through quite a bit of it as we make our way through, and I've already kind of said my piece. I don't really think I have anything else to add. But I do just have random little bits of trivia. I just thought I'd just throw you away. So this episode is the introduction of the deadlock seal, which went on to be a thing. Obviously, normally it's an excuse as to why the Doctor can't open something with a sonic screwdriver.
Yeah.
But this episode was the introduction of that. The diary room chair for the Big Brother section was sold to Channel 4 after the production of this episode.
Was it?
And it was used in Ultimate Big Brother.
No way.
So if you watch Ultimate Big Brother, it is the same chair that Chris Eccleston sat in.
That's pretty cool.
I've said this to you before, but obviously the whole weakest link Android idea was one of the things that was pitched in Russell T Davies's meeting with the BBC when it came to reviving Doctor Who.
Yeah.
So the very concept of Bad Wolf is one of the things that got this revival greenlit.
Yeah.
Which I find interesting.
I think that's pretty cool.
Just a random thing. This is the first time the Doctor's regenerated standing up. Because every other time in Classic Who he's been lying down.
I was going to say, yeah. I was thinking of the few scenes I've seen where he regenerates.
Yeah.
And yeah, the one where when he falls from a big old height.
Yeah, the fourth Doctor in Logopolis, I think. Yeah.
And again, when the movie TV show.
TV movie, yeah, he's in the morgue.
He's in the morgue.
Yeah.
And then the other one being the one where he's in the hospital bed. Oh wait, no, he's not in the hospital bed, is he?
Who are you talking about?
3.
The third Doctor?
Yeah.
He's just on the floor.
He doesn't regenerate. He regenerates standing up, doesn't he?
Who? The third Doctor?
Yeah,
No.
because he's with the what's it called? He's with the people who change him.
That's the second Doctor.
Yeah, but when he changed into the third, he's standing up, surely, isn't he?
No, I don't know. It's kind of weird, isn't it? Because he's kind of like spiraling around.
Fair enough, yeah.
But no, I mean, this is the first time you can clearly see a Doctor regenerating on his feet, which goes on to be the standard after this.
I was standard.
Oh, for God's sake!
I thought you liked puns.
Not really. You like puns. I just like that one pun.
You just like Android.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yeah, they all regenerate standing up after this.
Do you think we're due a lay down?
Shooty, have a lie down.
I like the idea of Shooty just having like a sit down somewhere on a comfy
It's just more
chair.
dramatic, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just more dramatic to have this big, like, standing there, make a big speech and then explode. Yeah. I might have told you this before, but this is a fun little thing that I remember thinking of as a kid, which is, obviously, this is our first appearance of David Tennant in Doctor Who. He's introduced after morphing into someone else morphed into David Tennant in this episode, and it's called The Parting of the Ways. And I remember when I was a kid and I was reading Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, the scene where Barty Crouch Jr. is revealed, or it's revealed, spoilers for the Goblet of Fire, it's revealed that Mad-Eye Moody the whole time has actually been Barty Crouch Jr. in disguise. That chapter in the book is called The Parting of the Ways.
Oh.
Which obviously, when that book was then adapted into a film, obviously Barty Crouch Jr., David Tennant, so those are two scenes in a title called The Parting of the Ways where someone morphs into David Tennant. And I just found that quite interesting.
That is pretty cool. I didn't know that.
I thought I told you that before.
No, well, I mean, obviously, I knew that was the case, but I never. Well, I didn't know in the book because I've never read Harry Potter, but I didn't know that was the case, and I never would have linked them. But that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Do you think is it just a coincidence?
Yeah. Yeah, because again, like this is 2005, and Goblet of Fire came out in. It might have been 2005, 2004, 2005. The film. What
if David Tennant was like, "I'm working on a movie,"
and David Tennant wears a leather jacket throughout Goblet of Fire.
Yeah, maybe he's like, "I'm working on a movie."
It's the same jacket.
Wouldn't it be cool?
He just rocked up onto set.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only other little bit of trivia I have is the working title for Bad Wolf.
Go on then.
Game Show World.
Oh, Jesus Christ, I'm so glad.
Have you liked any of the working titles more than the originals?
I think was it The Unquiet Dead? I was like, oh, that's not too bad.
Yeah, it was like The Angels of something.
Yeah. I was like, oh, that one's not that bad. But generally, no. I think fair enough. I think it's a strong outlier.
An empty child.
An empty child. I think it's a strong outlier.
The Cardiff explosion.
What if they were going to call the empty child Boomtown?
Yeah.
I wonder if you could change them around. If you could change the names to make sense.
It was like that.
Oh no, Father's Day being an unquiet dead. Oh no.
Good God. Yeah. I mean, this could be the end of the world.
It could, yeah.
Yeah. It's like that video that went around where someone said like all the Star Wars movies have the wrong titles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But I think that's about it for me. Do you have anything else to say regarding this story?
No, I do not.
No. Okay. Next week, our episode is not. We're not immediately jumping over to the Christmas invasion.
No.
We have a special. Do you want to? So Charlotte's going to be taking the lead on this one.
Yeah, and I haven't really told Connor anything about it.
No. So without spoiling, can you just give us a bit of a taste as to what we're looking at doing next week?
Yeah, sure. So the plan is we're going to do a recap on the series.
Yeah.
And as obviously we have now left Eccleston era, we're going to kind of do a wrap up on his era and maybe the impact he's made on Doctor Who and things like that. There's going to be a little question round. I'm going to ask some questions about the series. See how much attention you've been paying.
Not enough.
I don't know. Connor's. I don't know how this is going to land with Connor because you know a lot of random facts. You read he likes reading the TARDIS wiki. So,
oh yeah, that's my one-stop shop for
facts. Yeah. So I can imagine a lot of these you may know instantly. So sorry if it's too easy.
If it's too easy, I'll try and waffle to make it somewhat entertaining.
Sure, and I'll try add some pretty difficult questions just to catch you out. But I think that's generally going to be the thing. I can't imagine it's going to be as long as our usual ones. No. But saying that though, we do love a ramble, so maybe it might be.
Yeah. But in short, it's going to be a bit of a recap on Series 1 as a whole and the Ninth Doctor's era.
Yeah, and I think possibly even maybe a ranking. We might.
I do love a ranking.
Connor loves a ranking, so we might do how
gives me an excuse to make a spreadsheet,
and it actually means that, God forbid, I've actually got to make my mind up and rank these episodes. Yeah, but yeah, so I think that's really going to be the plan.
Yeah, and so we'll do that, and then the week after that, we'll be covering the Christmas invasion. The only difference is it will not be Charlotte.
No.
This episode has already been recorded. It was recorded back in
Christmas,
December time.
Yeah.
So Charlotte's sitting that one out, and it will be me and our good friend Rob joining for that one.
We've mentioned Rob a couple of times.
Yeah.
I do wish you all luck. I know it's going to be a wonderful thing. Connor and Rob often talk about Doctor Who in life for multiple hours.
Yes,
so
easily.
And the two of them are pretty big Doctor Who nerds, so I know they're definitely going to be bringing some deep cuts and interesting facts, which honestly I can't wait to listen to. I've listened to a little bit, but I can't wait to listen all the way through.
Yeah. So, hey, we know what we're getting for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, and then the week after that, I shall return.
And then Charlotte will return after that for New Earth.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess with that in mind, thank you all for listening. Don't forget to leave a like down below if you did enjoy. You can subscribe to keep up to date with everything that we're posting. You can follow us over on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts if you consume your content over there. If you do consume your content over there, then please feel free to come back over to YouTube to leave a comment if you want to. We had a lovely person leave a comment on our last episode who said that they normally listen through Spotify, but they came back to YouTube just to leave a comment, so that was really nice.
And thank you for your comments in general. I'm very grateful. You're all very lovely, and thank you for listening to us for some reason. Yeah,
thanks for listening to us waffle.
Yeah.
But yeah, we welcome any comments you guys want to make. If you've made it this far, we appreciate you.
Or suggestions in any way, if there's anything you'd like us to do, or...
Yeah, if you have any ideas for alternative episodes, if there's maybe any edits or anything we can do to our current episodes that you think will make them a bit more palatable.
Yeah, please let us know.
Stick anything down there, and well, that's what she said. And... and we'll...
we made a whole season without that. God damn it.
It had to fit in at the end, didn't it?
Did.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you all. We appreciate you all. And for the meantime, stay safe. Stay away from xenophobic space soldiers. And we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.